Chapter 476. Damn it, there was no need to think about it. Ding. The Immortal City promotion order has been successfully used. The promotion of Samsara City begins. As soon as the system's notification ended, the Immortal City promotion order turned into a colorful ball of light and rushed toward the golden stone tablet, the cornerstone of Samsara City. When the colorful ball of light completely merged with the golden stone tablet, Samsara City and the entire Reincarnation Valley shook violently. At the same time, the entire Reincarnation Valley was shaken by a series of booming sound. Boom, boom, boom. The sound came from the ground, deep and heavy. Kai-In, Miju, Sun-Qing, Chen-Kun, Tong-Yuan, and Zhou-Tsang were shocked when they felt the tremors. They looked at Yi-Chen in unison and shouted, "My lord, take the matriarchs out of the hall. It's an earthquake." At this moment, Samsara City was shaking violently. It felt like an earthquake. It was no wonder that Kai-In, Mijun, and Sun-Qing shouted for Yi-Chen. Behind Yi-Chen, Zhao Yu, Chan Wan, Kai Meier, Huang Wan'er Mijun, and Jin Jusei were also shocked. However, they didn't cry out because they knew that Yi-Chen wouldn't let them be in danger. Yi-Chen looked at the shocked crowd and said with a smile, "Don't be nervous. Don't be nervous. There's no danger." When everyone heard this, they were all stunned. Then, their hearts, which had been in their throats, were all put down. If someone else had said this, they would not have believed it. However, it was their Lord who said this. Their Lord was invincible and omnipotent. This was completely different. None of them doubted Yi-Chen. No matter what Yi-Chen said, they would think that it was right. Because their Lord, Yi-Chen, would not take their lives lightly. As soon as Yi-Chen finished his words, Samsara City stopped shaking violently. While everyone was in a daze, the huge Samsara City, the Reincarnation Valley, the 3 mountains around the Reincarnation Valley, and the Reincarnation Forest outside the Reincarnation Valley suddenly burst into a dazzling light. A mysterious wave of energy appeared in the Reincarnation Valley and the Reincarnation Forest. Sounds of the Great Path also sounded at this moment, and then continued to reverberate. Yi-Chen had been using his spiritual sense to observe the changes outside. When he saw the 3 mountains surrounding the Reincarnation Valley and the Reincarnation Forest participating in the changes, his eyes widened. F***CK. He had made a huge profit this time. Yi-Chen couldn't be blamed for thinking this way. The essence of the Immortal City promotion order was to upgrade an ordinary city into an immortal city. And this advancement process was to turn all the materials used to build the city into immortal-grade materials, and then automatically create some array formations to attach to the city. Now Yi-Chen's Samsara City was changing. This was nothing. Yi-Chen had been sure of this for a long time. However, what Yi-Chen hadn't expected was that the Reincarnation Valley, the 3 10,000-meter-tall mountains surrounding the Reincarnation Valley, and the even larger Reincarnation Forest, had actually participated in the changes. All of this told Yi-Chen one thing very straightforwardly. The Reincarnation Valley, the 3 10,000-meter-tall mountains, and the entire Reincarnation Forest were also being transformed. To be more precise, Yi-Chen would have immortal-grade materials for the 3 10,000-meter-tall mountains and an enormous Reincarnation Immortal Forest out of thin air. As for the Reincarnation Valley, it would definitely become an immortal field. All of this was undoubtedly a huge surprise for Yi-Chen. After the Reincarnation City was upgraded to the Reincarnation Immortal City, if he wanted to increase the scale of the Reincarnation City, he would have to continuously add materials to the Reincarnation City. And these materials would definitely have to be immortal grade. However, this was the beginner's area of the 3 kingdoms. If he wanted to find immortal grade materials, he would have to go to the 3 Immortal Island. There was no other way. However, even if he found the 3 Immortal Island and emptied it, the Reincarnation City might not be able to expand to cover the entire country. In this way, Yi Chen's idea of moving all the citizens to the reincarnation city would definitely be affected. Now, Yi Chen didn't have to worry about this problem because the three 10,000-meter-tall mountains were transforming into immortal grade mountains and the reincarnation forest was transforming into an immortal forest. Once the transformation was completed, the three 10,000-meter-tall mountains surrounding the reincarnation valley and the enormous reincarnation forest would definitely provide Yi Chen with a huge amount of immortal-grade materials to build the city. Therefore, Yi Chen didn't have to worry about not having enough immortal-grade materials. Even if he couldn't find the three immortal island, Yi Chen wasn't worried. Because the three 10,000-meter-tall mountains were too damn big. Even the three immortal island combined couldn't compare to the three 10,000-meter-tall mountains. Not to mention, Yi Chen also had the reincarnation forest that occupied an even larger area. Of course, just looking at the materials alone, the three 10,000-meter-tall mountains and the reincarnation forest wouldn't be able to build a city that could accommodate all the citizens of the country. However, a city built with immortal-grade materials had the characteristic of shrinking and expanding on its own. If it shrank, it could shrink to the size of a grain of rice, but the internal space wouldn't change. As for expansion, it would start from 10,000 times and there was no upper limit. To put it more accurately, the higher the grade of the materials used to build the immortal city, the larger the area that the immortal city could expand on its own. And Yi Chen had already refined the space origin. Although his ability to control space was only superficial, he still had the ability to increase the internal space of the reincarnation city. Therefore, Yi Chen wasn't worried about this at all. Just as Yi Chen was thinking about this, a strong force suddenly appeared beneath everyone's feet. This is... Tong Yuan and Zhou Tsang were stunned when they realized that something was wrong. Then, they shouted in shock. They were military generals and immediately realized that something was wrong beneath their feet. But the problem was that the ground was still flat and there wasn't a bulge at all. Just then, a feeling of being pushed up rapidly appeared in everyone's hearts. In the next second, a layer of white clouds appeared in the originally normal hall. Then, it became thicker and thicker. At this moment, the system notification sounded. Ding! Congratulations to player Yi Chen. Reincarnation City has officially evolved into Reincarnation Immortal City. When Yi Chen heard this, he couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. What a big commotion. I wonder how the three mountains and the trees in the reincarnation forest have evolved. Just as Yi Chen was thinking about this, he saw Zhao Yu and the white clouds suddenly appear in the hall. She was stunned. Then, she looked at Yi Chen and asked in shock, "My husband, this reincarnation city, the reincarnation valley, and the reincarnation forest are now in the sky." When Yi Chen heard this, he smiled and said. When Yi Chen finished his words, all the women and Yi Chen's subordinates were stunned. They didn't expect that the change just now was caused by the ascension of the reincarnation city. After regaining their senses, Kai Yin, Mi Zhu, Sun Qing, Chen Kun, Zhou Tsang, and Tong Yuan all looked at Yi Chen and bowed solemnly. "My lord! Long live! Long live! Long live!" At this moment, Yi Chen's subordinates didn't care about whether it was inappropriate or not to address him this way. From their point of view, their lord was the one who was truly fated to return to the throne. Otherwise, how could the reincarnation city fly into the sky? This wasn't something that could be done in the mortal world. It wasn't something that any emperor could do. Even if those emperors used all their strength and begged the heavens and earth, it would be useless. When Yi Chen heard this, he smiled. When he was about to speak, a white-haired elder suddenly appeared at the entrance of the hall. In the next second, an extremely respectful greeting was heard. Nanhua greets the Lord. Chapter 477. Hearing this, Yi Chen couldn't help but look at Nanhua Old Immortal. He nodded with a smile and asked, "Are you used to Samsara City?" "My lord, Samsara City is more than 100 times better than I expected." Now, it's more than 10,000 times better. Nanhua Old Deity quickly bowed. Obviously, Nanhua Old Deity already knew about the unusual changes in Samsara City. Otherwise, he would not have said so. Yi Chen nodded with a smile and asked, "Why are you here? Why are you here?" Nanhua Old Deity was a special existence among the newcomers of the Three Kingdoms. He was currently residing in Samsara City and had not recognized Yi Chen as his master. It was normal for him to come to the Castellan mansion to greet Yi Chen, but Yi Chen did not think that Nanhua Old Deity was here just to congratulate Yi Chen on the promotion of Samsara City to Samsara Immortal City. Nanhua Old Deity had obviously come in a hurry, or else he would not have come in such a hurry. After hearing Yi Chen's question, Nanhua Old Deity quickly bowed to Yi Chen and said, "My lord, I've made some progress in alchemy recently, but I'm still missing a guiding ingredient." Guiding ingredient? What medicinal catalyst? When Yi Chen heard this, he couldn't help but be taken aback and asked. Nanhua Old Deity smiled and bowed, "My lord, the guiding ingredient is the spiritual spring. Your lordship, the best choice for the medicinal catalyst is the spirit spring water. However, there are better alternatives in the Reincarnation Valley." Yi Chen was stunned and asked, "Are you talking about the Reincarnation Valley? Are you talking about the spring water in the Reincarnation Valley? It used to be an ordinary spring, but now it has become an immortal spring?" "Yes, it is." Hearing this, Elder Nanhua smiled, nodded, and bowed. Yi Chen shook his head helplessly and said, "It doesn't matter how much you use. It doesn't matter how much you use it. If you want to use it, just take it." "Thank you, my lord." Nanhua Old Deity's eyes lit up and he hurriedly bowed. How could old immortal Nanhua not know what the immortal spring was? It was impossible for such a thing to appear in the mortal world. But right now, the Reincarnation Immortal City had appeared and Yi Chen had even allowed him to use it freely. How could Nanhua Old Deity not be excited? Nanhua Old Deity's alchemy was not without benefit. If he could keep doing it, he would gain various benefits from it. Yi Chen glanced at the extremely excited Nanhua Old Immortal and nodded with a chuckle. Then, he asked, "How is the effect of the pill you're trying?" Nanhua Old Immortal was a cultivator who was good at alchemy. This was one of the reasons why Yi Chen let Nanhua Old Immortal settle down in Reincarnation City. To be precise, Yi Chen already had the idea of asking Nanhua Old Deity to refine pills for Samsara City, whether it was for the civilians or the soldiers. Now that Nanhua Old Deity was officially making pills, Yi Chen naturally wanted to know what kind of pills Nanhua Old Deity was going to make. "My lord, the pills I'm making can increase the strength of the soldiers. If the immortal spring water is used as the catalyst, the effects will be greatly increased without any side effect." Nanhua Old Deity hurriedly bowed and said. Nanhua Old Deity did not dare to hide anything. Although he had not officially followed Yi Chen, it was already set in stone and there was no way he could change it. As long as Yi Chen established a country and the whole country ascended, he would definitely recognize Yi Chen as his master. Even if Yi Chen did not ask, he would take the initiative to do so. As for the reason, it was very simple. Yi Chen saved his life and agreed to let him settle down in Samsara City. This way, he could ascend with Yi Chen. To Nanhua Old Deity, Yi Chen was like his second parent. Yi Chen gave him a new life and Yi Chen gave him hope of ascension. Therefore, he wouldn't hide anything from Yi Chen at all, nor would he boast about this matter. Moreover, even without the previous factors, the Nanhua Old Immortal did not dare to speak carelessly, because the pressure Yi Chen gave him was even stronger, to the point that it was boundless. There was only one reason for such a change. Yi Chen's state was far beyond the mortal evolution state. Nanhua Old Deity could not determine what state Yi Chen was in, but he was certain that even 100 of him added together would not be able to compare to one Yi Chen. What? Yi Chen's eyes widened when he heard the Nanhua Old Immortal's words. Yi Chen did not expect that the pills made by Nanhua Old Deity could increase the power of soldiers. Such pills appeared in Yi Chen's previous life, but that was a long time in the future. The person who made the pills was not Nanhua Old Deity, but Huato. Originally, Yi Chen planned to send someone to find Huato after this quest was over. He wanted to bring Huato to Samsara City so that he could make the pill. But now, old immortal Nanhua's words had undoubtedly told Yi Chen that old immortal Nanhua had also created a pill that could increase one's power without any side effects. As far as Yi Chen was concerned, this was undoubtedly an extremely good thing. There would be more and more soldiers in Samsara City. If there were constant wars, there would be soldiers to train, but if there were no wars, they could only cultivate. That would be a slow process. Nanhua Old Deity's words gave Yi Chen a pleasant surprise. Nanhua Old Deity bowed again after hearing Yi Chen's words. "My lord, the pills can increase the power of soldiers without any side effects." "What's the output of the pills?" Yi Chen hurriedly asked. Nanhua Old Deity paused for a moment and then bowed again. "My lord, the problem of alchemy lies in the beginning. I can solve this problem. If we add more alchemy furnaces and recruit some nimble people as apprentices, the production of pills can be increased to 100,000 pills a day, or even more. How much can the pills increase my power?" Yi Chen's eyes lit up and he asked. Nanhua Old Deity thought for a moment and then bowed. "I can't tell the exact value, but with the water of the immortal spring as the catalyst, it can increase my power by at least 30. If the pills are made perfectly, I can directly break through to the Khanate realm." "Good. Good." When Yi Chen heard this, his eyes suddenly opened wide, and then he laughed wildly towards the sky. Kai Yin Mizhu, Sun Qing, Chen Kun, Zhou Zong, and Tong Yuan looked at each other and then turned to Yi Chen and bowed. "Congratulations, my lord. Congratulations." Hearing this, Yi Chen smiled again. Then, he looked at Mi Zhu and shouted, "Zizhong, remember all the medicines Nanhua needs and buy all the medicines in the Great Han Dynasty at all costs." Chapter 478. "Yes, my lord." When Mi Zhu heard this, he hurriedly bowed and replied loudly. When Yi Chen heard this, he chuckled and nodded. Then, he thought of something and his face stiffened. "Damn it, I almost forgot about this." Yi Chen waved his right hand and the Earth-level weapon blueprint, random, X2 Earth-level armor blueprint, random, X1 and Sea Protector ship, Earth-level, blueprint X1 appeared in Yi Chen's hands. After looking at the 4 blueprints, Yi Chen raised his eyebrows. He then looked at Mi Zhu and said, "Zizhong, let the craftsmen familiarize themselves with these blueprints. After the teleportation portal is built in the expeditionary village, they can focus on forging these equipment. If someone else had obtained the Earth-level equipment blueprints, they would definitely forge them immediately. However, Yi Chen would not do so. The reason was not complicated. The standard equipment of the Samsara City Army was diamond level, which was enough for the time being. Another reason was that there was a village that belonged to Yi Chen on the vast sea, the expeditionary village. That was the springboard for Yi Chen to conquer other countries. It was also the reason why Yi Chen did not intend to forge Earth-level standard equipment. There was an abundance of Millennium Dark Ironwood there. Once the Millennium Dark Ironwood was added to the forging process, the equipment's grade would automatically increase by 1. Take Earth-level equipment for example. Once the Millennium Dark Ironwood was added during the forging process, it would definitely become Heaven-level equipment. Therefore, Yi Chen did not intend to forge Earth-level equipment at the moment. It would be a waste to forge Earth-level equipment when it could become Heaven-level equipment immediately. Yi Chen was rich, a lot of money. However, no matter how rich Yi Chen was, he would not waste it casually. Moreover, the Samsara City Army was all equipped with diamond-level equipment set. Their grades were superior to all other armies and 99% of the players. There was no need to rush. The reason why Yi Chen took out the blueprints now was to let the craftsmen familiarize themselves with it as soon as possible. When the craftsmen were able to start crafting the equipment, they would be able to go all out. Then, the Samsara City Army would be able to equip the best equipment from the Three Kingdoms beginners area in the shortest amount of time. The heaven tier set. When Mi Zhu heard Yi Chen's words, he hurriedly bowed and received it. Then he solemnly replied, "Yes, my lord." However, as soon as Mi Zhu finished speaking, he was stunned on the spot. Then, he said in surprise, "My lord, this is..." When Mi Zhu heard Yi Chen mention the equipment blueprints, he was certain that the equipment blueprints mentioned by Yi Chen wouldn't be of a low grade. It had to be at least of yellow rank or even mystic rank. However, what Mi Zhu did not expect was that Yi Chen's equipment recipes were all earth rank. Equipment blueprints were much harder to obtain than equipment. Moreover, the higher the grade, the harder it was to obtain an equipment blueprint. In Mi Zhu's knowledge, the most powerful equipment blueprints appeared during the pre-Qin dynasty. At that time, the elite soldiers of the Qin dynasty all wore mystic rank equipment set. Now, the 4 equipment blueprints that Yi Chen gave him were all earth rank. Among them, there was even an earth rank warship blueprint. As the deputy castellan of Samsara City, how could Mi Zhu not know about the existence of Millennium Black Ironwood on the island where the expeditionary village was located? It was precisely because he knew about it that Mi Zhu was so shocked. Now that Samsara City had earth-rank equipment blueprints, once the teleportation formation of the expeditionary village was opened, Samsara City would be able to build an unprecedentedly powerful army with a full set of heaven-rank equipment. Such an army of Samsara City would definitely be invincible. No one would be able to stop them, and no one would dare to stop them. Kai Yin, Sun Qing, Chen Kun, Zhou and Tong Yuan saw Mi Zhu's shock and couldn't help but look at the equipment blueprints in Mi Zhu's hands. When they saw the equipment blueprints in Mi Zhu's hands, they were all stunned. After regaining their senses, they were all shocked. Then, together with Mi Zhu, they bowed solemnly to Yi Chen and said, "Congratulations, my lord! Congratulations, my lord! It's only a matter of time before Samsara City dominates the world." Their words were filled with excitement. They were even more excited about Samsara City's heritage and the fact that they could follow Yi Chen. When Yi Chen heard this, he chuckled and nodded. Then, he looked at Kai Yin and said, "Father-in-law, quickly select some nimble people for Nanhua to choose from. The matter of refining elixirs is very important and must be put on the agenda as soon as possible." "Yes, my lord." When Kai Yin heard this, he nodded solemnly and bowed in response. When Yi Chen heard this, he chuckled and nodded. Then, he looked at Nanhua Old Deity and said solemnly, "If you have any needs, feel free to tell Zizhong. As for the elixirs that can increase one's strength, they are very important to Samsara City. If you do your best, I won't mistreat you. It is Nanhua's honor to be able to work for the Lord. Please rest assured that Nanhua will do his best to refine the elixir for the Lord." Nanhua Old Deity's eyes lit up when he heard this. He then bowed solemnly and said. When Yi Chen heard this, he chuckled and nodded. Then, he looked at the women and said, "Samsara City has been upgraded to Samsara Immortal City. You can control Samsara City to fly in the sky. But remember, don't leave the territory of the Great Han Dynasty." When Zhao Yu, Chan Wan, Kai Mei Mi Zhen, Huang Wan and Zhen Jiesa heard this, their eyes lit up. Then, they looked at Yi Chen and shouted in unison, "Thank you, my husband!" When Yi Chen heard this, he couldn't help but smile. Then, he looked at his subordinates and said, "I'll leave Samsara City to you. Develop it well and don't slack off." "Yes, my lord." When Mi Zhu, Kai Yin, Sun Qing, Chen Kun, Zhou Zong, and Tong Yuan heard this, they hurriedly bowed and replied. Yi Chen smiled and nodded. Then, he looked at the women apologetically. In the next second, Yi Chen flew into the sky. When the women saw this, they felt reluctant to part with Yi Chen, but they didn't show it. Then, they greeted Yi Chen in unison. "Farewell, my husband! Farewell, my lord!" Kai Yin, Mizhu, Sun Qing, Chen Kun, Zhou Zong, and Tong Yuan had just stood up. When they saw Yi Chen fly into the sky, they hurriedly bowed again. Standing in the sky, Yi Chen looked at the people in the hall and nodded. Then, he quickly flew toward Changshan Prefecture. After Yi Chen left, the world channel was in an uproar. F***ck. Guess what I saw? What did you see? Why are you keeping me in suspense? F***ck. I wonder if I'm dreaming. I saw 3 mountains floating in the sky. Bullsh**t. That's a huge forest. Bullsh**t. That's a huge island. There are mountains and forests. F***ck. What are you talking about? Why can't I understand? That's right. F***ck. What the hell is that? I've never heard of islands, mountains, or forests floating in the sky. Have you forgotten? Yi Chen can fly. This is a world where one can become an immortal. Those floating in the sky must be immortal islands. F***ck. Immortal islands? Doesn't that mean one can become an immortal after entering? Even if one can't become an immortal, one can still get a lot of good stuff? Idiot! Why don't you enter one and show me? Stop F***king comparing. I suddenly remembered something. F***ck. Yi Chen can fly. We can't enter, but Yi Chen can for sure. F***ck. It's true. Mother***ker, this isn't fair. Shouldn't we wait until we can fly before coming out of the immortal island? Mother***ker, if we come out now, no one will be able to fly. Wouldn't all the benefits be snatched by Yi Chen? Just as the players were discussing the immortal islands that suddenly appeared in the sky, a world announcement suddenly sounded. Ding! Congratulations to player Yi Chen. Reincarnation City has been upgraded to Reincarnation Immortal City. Special reward. Reincarnation Immortal City is the #1 immortal city in Eldritch Universe. Chapter 479. The announcement was repeated 3 times in a row, and the entire world channel exploded. F***ck. Are you kidding me? Immortal City? Yi Chen's Reincarnation City has become an immortal? Immortal my ass. Reincarnation City isn't even human. How can it become an immortal? F***ck. I don't know if it's an immortal or not, but I do know that Yi Chen's Reincarnation City is even more powerful now. F***ck. Yi Chen is already so powerful, and now he's created an immortal city. Is he giving others a way out? Ha ha ha, Boss Yi Chen is the most awesome. I'll ask you if you're convinced. Go away, idiot. No matter how powerful Yi Chen is, he's Yi Chen. What does it have to do with you? F***ck. I know. The immortal island that suddenly appeared in the sky is Yi Chen's Reincarnation City. That's impossible. The World Channel said Reincarnation City. That's a city, but the island floating in the sky. F***ck. Stop guessing. I sneaked a peek at Yi Chen's Reincarnation City. Although I only saw it from afar and didn't even dare to get close to the walls of the Reincarnation Valley, that's not important. What's important is that Yi Chen's nest does have 3 mountains that are 10,000 meters tall. You mean that the island floating in the sky is Yi Chen's Reincarnation City? F***ck. If it's Reincarnation City, why are the 3 mountains and the Reincarnation Forest flying with it? This doesn't make sense. What does it make sense? What if the Immortal City can fly with the surrounding area? F***ck. You're not getting to the point. Now that Yi Chen's Reincarnation City has become Reincarnation Immortal City, it can fly in the sky. From now on, Yi Chen can attack wherever he wants. No one can escape. Why don't you think about this? F***ck. What should we do? Yi Chen is in the sky. We can't hit him at all. If he comes down, my territory will be flattened. Ha ha ha, I'm not afraid. I'm not a lord. F***CKU. The world channel was in an uproar. Yi Chen, who was flying in the sky, glanced at the world channel and curled his lips in disdain. The players guessed that the gigantic island in the sky was the Reincarnation City, or rather, the Reincarnation Immortal City. They were afraid that the Reincarnation Immortal City would come crashing down on them. If that happened, no one would be able to stop it. There was no other way out except for the destruction of their territories. However, Yi Chen would never consider such a method. This was because after the world fell into chaos, players would attack each other. It would be like exterminating bandits or killing golden scarves. Experience would be gained. Therefore, Yi Chen could not use Samsara City to wipe out the territories in the Great Han Empire. If he did, the experience would belong to Yi Chen, and it would not be much. Instead of wasting resources, it would be better to let the army of Samsara City take action. This way they could train their troops. Thinking of this, Yi Chen could not help but raise his eyebrows. Just as he was about to speed up, he suddenly remembered something. Wait a minute. There seems to be something I haven't done yet. Damn it, I almost forgot about Lu Jin. Thinking of this, Yi Chen hurriedly stopped. He activated his divine consciousness and instantly covered the Reincarnation Immortal City in the sky. In the next second, the million sets of diamond-level equipment stored in the Reincarnation Immortal City's arsenal disappeared. A million sets of diamond-level equipment was not a small number. It could be described as a mountain. Therefore, the disappearance of the million sets of diamond-level equipment was immediately discovered by the soldiers in charge of guarding the arsenal. Just as the soldiers in charge of guarding the Reincarnation Immortal City's arsenal were dumbfounded, Yi Chen's voice suddenly rang out. Don't panic. I have a use for them. Just report to the Deputy City Lord. As soon as Yi Chen finished speaking, the soldiers in charge of guarding the Reincarnation Immortal City's arsenal heaved a sigh of relief. Then, they simultaneously bowed to the sky and said, Yes, my lord. In the sky, Yi Chen, who was floating motionlessly, looked at the million sets of diamond-level equipment in the inventory and shook his head helplessly. With so many things to do, it was easy to neglect some things. At the thought of this, Yi Chen sighed and then quickly flew toward Changshan County. As for why Yi Chen did not use his spatial ability, it was because once he used it, it would consume a lot of his dermic powers. Even if Yi Chen had refined the origin of space, he could not avoid this. If it was not an emergency, Yi Chen would not waste his dermic powers casually. This was the experience that Yi Chen had accumulated in his previous life. To be precise, Yi Chen had to be in the best condition at all times so that he could deal with unexpected situations. Moreover, Yi Chen's flying speed was extremely fast. It would not take long. Outside the city of Changshan County, banners fluttered in the wind, and long spears formed a forest. The 1,010,000 soldiers of Reincarnation Immortal City quietly waited for Yi Chen's return. The battlefield not far away had been cleaned up, and the huge pit that had buried hundreds of thousands of monsters had been filled up. In front of the army, Guo Yi Tianfeng, Guan Er, Zhang San, Zhang He Chu Yi, Gao Lan, and Yu Jin were discussing something. At this moment, Yi Chen descended from the sky. Guo Yi Tianfeng, Guan Er, Zhang San, Zhang He Chu Yi, Gao Lan, and Yu Jin saw this and hurriedly stopped their discussion. They then looked at Yi Chen and bowed solemnly. Greetings, my lord. The sound of one knee kneeling in unison rang out. Swoosh! In the next second, the 1,010,000 soldiers of Reincarnation Immortal City shouted in unison. Greetings, my lord. The 1,010,000 soldiers of Reincarnation Immortal City shouted in unison. It was like thunder that shook the heavens and the earth. Yi Chen looked at the army of Reincarnation Immortal City and nodded with satisfaction. He then waved his right hand and 10 heaven-level recruitment orders appeared in an instant. After glancing at the heaven-level recruitment orders, Yi Chen chose to use them without hesitation. Ding. Player Yi Chen used the recruitment order, Heaven Level. The army of reincarnation, Immortal City, has increased by 100,000 soldiers. The system's notifications rang out one after another. Suddenly, the open space next to the army of reincarnation, Immortal City, was filled with rays of light. When the rays of light dissipated, millions of soldiers appeared in their original places. After a short moment of confusion, the millions of recruits looked at Yi Chen in unison. They then knelt on one knee in unison and saluted loudly. "Greetings, my lord." Their voices were loud and clear and resounded through the wilderness. Yi Chen looked at the millions of recruits and nodded with satisfaction. A heaven-level recruitment order was indeed a heaven-level recruitment order. Even the people it recruited were new recruits. Wait, Yi Chen suddenly found that the recruits were a little different this time. He hurriedly looked at the attribute panel of the soldiers. When Yi Chen saw that the lowest aptitude of the soldiers was at level SS and most of them were at level SSS, his eyes widened. Damn it! What's going on? As soon as Yi Chen's shock appeared, he suddenly thought of something. He hurriedly looked at the description of the number 1 Immortal City in the wilderness. Number 1 Immortal City in the wilderness. Number 1 in the wilderness. Unparalleled. Greatly increases the aptitude and comprehension of the territory's residents. When he saw this, Yi Chen's eyes lit up. Damn it! It wasn't a big increase, but their aptitude had increased by at least 5 levels. In other words, the increase might be even higher. When he thought of this, Yi Chen couldn't help but laugh wildly at the sky. Awesome! The higher the aptitude of his subordinates, the more Yi Chen liked them. There was no doubt about that. At this moment, Yi Chen thought of something. He hurriedly looked at the attributes of the veterans of Reincarnation City and the soldiers of the Samsara Legion. When Yi Chen saw that the aptitude of the veterans of Reincarnation City and the soldiers of the Samsara Legion had increased to level SS and even level SSS, he immediately laughed out loud. Damn it, I've really struck gold this time. Yi Chen had originally planned to increase the aptitude of his soldiers as a whole after he found the 3 Immortal Island. Now, the aptitude of his soldiers had all increased to level SS and many of them were even level SSS. This way, the treasures of heaven and earth on the 3 Immortal Island would definitely increase the aptitude of his soldiers to a higher level, far beyond what Yi Chen had estimated. Therefore, Yi Chen was in a good mood at this moment. Recommended a book by a friend, Killing Monsters and Killing Beauties in the City. Ding Dong, Level A Boss Guojing has appeared in the pedestrian street in the city center. Players, please go and kill it as soon as possible. Ding Dong, player Yi Shaochen has successfully killed Guojing. Huang Rong, the peerless beauty, was dropped. Ding Dong, because Huang Rong was dropped, Level A Boss Guojing's eyes flashed with a green light and changed into Level A plus green-haired zombie Guojing. Players, please run away as soon as possible. One day, when a series of notifications appeared in everyone's minds, everyone was stunned. What was going on? Why was there a Boss Guojing in the pedestrian street? And Huang Rong was dropped. Who was this Yi Shaochen? Just as everyone was filled with questions, another notification sounded. Ding Dong, congratulations to player XXX for killing the Golden Scarf zombie minion. You have dropped Sister Phoenix. Chapter 480. Guo Yi was a little confused. He didn't know why Yi Chen was so happy all of a sudden. Although the addition of 1,000,000 soldiers was a good thing, it shouldn't make Yi Chen so happy. Just as Guo Yi was about to ask Yi Chen, he suddenly found that the army of Samsara City was a little different. He couldn't help but look at the army of Samsara City. The next second, Guo Yi activated his Eye of Ghost God. When Guo Yi's Eye of Ghost God swept over the army of Samsara City, he was stunned. Then he looked at Yi Chen and shouted in surprise, "My lord, has Samsara City become an immortal city?" That is indeed the case. Yi Chen chuckled and nodded his head when he heard this. Tianfeng, Guan-er, Zhang San, Zhang He, Chu Yi, Gao Lan, and Eugene were all stunned. Then they looked at Yi Chen at the same time and bowed loudly. "Congratulations, my lord. Congratulations, my lord." Obviously, they knew something about the immortal city. Otherwise, they wouldn't have behaved like this. Hearing this, Yi Chen nodded with a smile. Then he looked at the million recruits of Samsara City and shouted, "Ha ha ha, God bless me. I've really become a soldier of the General of Agile Cavalry." The 1,000,000 new recruits of Samsara City shouted one after another. They were very excited because they had become the soldiers of the General of Agile Cavalry, Yi Chen. At this moment, Yi Chen's fame had spread throughout the great Han Empire. Everyone knew him. As long as they became Yi Chen's soldiers, their families wouldn't have to starve and they would be able to make contributions to the empire. The people of this era thought very simply. They wanted to eat enough, wear warm clothes, and bring glory to their ancestors. It was not difficult for the burly men to achieve this at this moment. As long as they became the General of Agile Cavalry, the governor of Yuzhou Province, Yi Chen's soldiers, they could do it. Because Yi Chen was the unparalleled General of Agile Cavalry. He commanded troops like a god and had made outstanding military achievement. What's more, he loved his soldiers as if they were his children. As long as they became the soldiers of the General of Agile Cavalry, Yi Chen, anything was possible. And now, they had really become Yi Chen's soldiers. To the millions of new recruits who had been longing for this, how could they not be excited? How could they not be? Yi Chen couldn't help but smile as he looked at the millions of excited soldiers. He then raised his hand to signal for them to be quiet. When the 1,000,000 new recruits saw this, they hurriedly stopped shouting and quietly waited for Yi Chen to speak. Yi Chen's expression turned solemn as he looked at the millions of recruits who had quieted down. He then looked at Lu Jin and shouted, "Lu Jin, go and select 100,000 soldiers. From now on, these 100,000 soldiers will be under your command." "Yes, my lord." Hearing this, Lu Jin's eyes lit up. He hurriedly took a step forward and knelt down on one knee. After that, he directly walked towards the 1,000,000 new recruits and quickly selected 100,000 new recruit. When Yi Chen saw this, he looked at the remaining 900,000 recruit. With a thought, the Samsara Legion's attribute panel appeared instantly. When Guo Yi saw this, he hurriedly bowed and said, "My lord, you can't." When Yi Chen heard this, he couldn't help but be stunned. Yi Chen didn't expect Guo Yi to advise him at this time. Guo Yi glanced at the Samsara Legion and then looked at Yi Chen. He bowed again and said, "My lord, the Samsara Legion is the most powerful legion in Samsara City. Everyone is proud to be in the Samsara Legion. Although the Samsara Legion has a limit of 10 million soldiers, we believe that the brave and courageous ones will be able to fight for it. Moreover, Samsara City has sufficient soldiers at the moment. There is no need to rush to expand the Samsara Legion. My lord, please reconsider." When Yi Chen heard this, he suddenly understood. "Damn, I almost forgot about this. If I continue to replenish the Samsara Legion with new recruits, I might really disappoint the veterans." When he thought of this, Yi Chen nodded and said, "Feng Shao is right. My lord is wise." When Guo Yi heard this, he immediately heaved a sigh of relief and then bowed with a smile. When Yi Chen heard this, his face suddenly stiffened. He then glared at Guo Yi and said, "You are not allowed to drink for a month." "My lord, this." When Guo Yi heard this, he suddenly felt uneasy and hurriedly shouted. However, Yi Chen didn't even look at Guo Yi. He just waved his right hand. In the next second, 1,000,000 sets of diamond equipment sets appeared in front of the 1,000,000 new recruit. In an instant, the diamond equipment shone brightly. The new recruits squinted their eyes at the same time and then screamed in surprise. "Diamond equipment! My God! Is this our equipment?" "What? Diamond equipment? It's really diamond equipment and it's a set." Gulp. Gulp, the sound of saliva swallowing could be heard from the 1,000,000 new recruits. Yi Chen glanced at the 1,000,000 new recruits, smiled slightly, and then shouted, "Change your equipment. 1 set per person." "Yes, my lord." When the 1,000,000 new recruits heard this, they immediately used all their strength and shouted at the top of their lungs. The shouts of the 1,000,000 new recruits were filled with excitement and gratitude. They were born poor, but when they came here they were actually given diamond equipment set. To them, how could they not be excited and grateful? With diamond equipment sets, it would be easy to kill the enemy and it would be difficult for the enemy to kill them. It was also because of this that they were so excited and grateful. Soon, the 1,000,000 new recruits changed their equipment. When Yi Chen saw this, he directly looked at Guan Er, Zhang San, Zhang He, Chu Yi, and Gao Lan and shouted, "All of you will be the vanguard. Attack Jilu." "Yes, my lord." When everyone heard this, their eyes lit up and they bowed in unison. After that, Guan Er, Zhang San, Zhang He, Chu Yi, and Gao Lan immediately turned and walked towards the 100,000 troops that they were commanding. Soon, Guan Er, Zhang San, Zhang He, Chu Yi, and Gao Lan led their 100,000 troops and rushed towards Jilu. Rumble, rumble, 10,000 horses galloped and the earth rumbled. Smoke and dust filled the sky instantly and then drifted away. Chapter 481. Guan Er, Zhang San, Zhang He, Chu Yi, and Gao Lan led the 500,000 Reincarnation City cavalrymen and left. Guo Yi looked at the departing Reincarnation City army and then looked at Yi Chen. He bowed and said, "Lord, Zhang Ju has the great peace technique and can summon the wind and rain. The soldiers under the generals have not reached the Xiantian realm, so they might not be able to deal with him. Don't worry, Yunjing, Dianxiong, Gao Shun, and Zhao Meng have already reached Jilu. Even if Zhang Ju uses the Great Peace Technique, it won't be of any use." Yi Chen smiled after hearing Gui Yi's words. Zhang Ju had the Great Peace Art, which allowed him to call the wind and summon the rain, as well as cast beans to form soldiers. His power was extraordinary, and ordinary armies were no match for him. However, Zhao Yun, Dianxiong, Gao Shun, and Zhao Meng's 400,000 Reincarnation City army had all reached the Xiantian realm. Zhang Ju could not casually attack them. Of course, it would not be easy for Zhao Yun, Dianxiong, Gao Shun, and Zhao Meng to take down Jilu. Even with Guan Er, Zhang San, Zhang He, Chu Yi, Gao Lan, Tianfeng, and Guo Yi, it would be useless. The key to all of this was the Great Peace Technique. Zhang Ju had the Heaven Scroll of the Great Peace Technique and was not an existence that ordinary armies could deal with. Yi Chen had been reborn, so he naturally knew all of this. Moreover, Yi Chen clearly remembered that in his previous life, countless players and the Great Han army had attacked Zhang Ju, but to no avail. Of course, in the end, Jin lost because Zhang Ju had suffered a backlash from forcefully using the Great Peace Technique, and coughed up blood. Without Zhang Ju, Jin's army was not a match for the Great Han Empire's army and was quickly wiped out. It was because of this that Yi Chen did not let Guo Yi and Tianfeng go with him. Even if they went, it would be useless. Zhang Ju was still very healthy and could use the Great Peace Technique. Of course, this was not the key. The key was that Zhang Ju was a sinister person who specialized in assassinating strategists. More accurately, the moment Zhang Ju encountered an army with a military advisor, he would immediately kill the military advisor. In his previous life, there had been many players who had hired some mediocre tacticians to attack Zhang Ju. However, as soon as these mediocre tacticians appeared, they would die in less than an hour. They would die without knowing why. Yi Chen didn't want his soldiers to suffer heavy casualties, and he didn't want Guo Yi and Tianfeng to fall into Zhang Ju's trap. After Guo Yi heard Yi Chen's words, he couldn't help but be stunned, and then said with great surprise, "My lord, Yun Zheng and the others have already arrived at Jilu?" "Yes, not only did I arrive, I even fought with Zhang Ju twice." Yi Chen chuckled as he nodded and said. Yi Chen's spiritual sense could already cover a radius of 10,000 miles. Changshan County was not far from Julu, so it was not a problem for Yi Chen to investigate Julu's situation. My lord, if that's the case, Zhang Ju must be having a headache. Tianfeng heard this and couldn't help but smile and bow. When Yi Chen heard this, he laughed and said, "Of course he will be having a headache because he can't do anything to our army. He can't run away and he can't fight against us. My lord, once Zhang Ju is killed, the commoners who were forced to join the Golden Scarf army will wake up, should we?" Guo Yi suddenly thought of something and hesitated for a moment before bowing. When Yi Chen heard this, he couldn't help but smile. How could Yi Chen not understand Guo Yi's meaning? Guo Yi was asking Yi Chen if he should take the opportunity to recruit some Golden Scarf army. After all, most of the Golden Scarf army were born poor and had no way of surviving that Zhang Ju succeeded. Once Zhang Ju was killed, most of the Golden Scarf army would regain their rationality. After all, in the eyes of the Golden Scarf army, Zhang Ju was an omnipotent god. If their god was killed, it would be difficult for them not to regain their rationality. Moreover, once Zhang Ju was killed, there would be no source of talisman water that made people crazy. Without talisman water, the Golden Scarf army would definitely not blindly worship and believe in Zhang Ju. Thinking of this, Yi Chen nodded and then said, "Of course we will, but we have to screen them carefully. Once we find those fanatical and completely brainwashed people, kill them." Yi Chen had no choice but to make this decision. After all, Zhang Ju's Golden Scarf army was like a pyramid scheme. To be precise, it was even more terrifying than that, because Zhang Ju's Golden Scarf army was like a religion. If they were completely brainwashed, it would be useless to reform them. Even if they were reformed, they might jump out one day and cause trouble. Yi Chen didn't want such a situation to happen in his territory. For Yi Chen, if they were obedient, he would take them in and take good care of them. If they were not obedient, he would kill them all, no matter who they were. When Guo Yi and Tianfeng heard this, they both breathed a sigh of relief and then bowed to Yi Chen. "Yes, my lord." When Yi Chen heard Guo Yi and Tianfeng's sigh of relief, his face stiffened and he glared at them. However, Yi Chen didn't say anything. Guo Yi and Tianfeng's intentions were good. After all, they didn't want Yi Chen to have a bad reputation of being cruel and indiscriminate. Yi Chen understood this point, so Yi Chen couldn't be angry because of this. When Guo Yi and Tianfeng saw Yi Chen glaring at them, they laughed awkwardly, then hurriedly bowed to Yi Chen and said, "Brother Yi, please forgive us. Please forgive us, my lord." When Yi Chen heard this, he helplessly shook his head and waved his hand, indicating for the two to withdraw. When Guo Yi and Tianfeng saw this, they hurriedly bowed and then turned to return to their warhorses. At this time, a thunderous roar suddenly sounded. Nay! In the next second, the golden Pegasus, Little Gold, suddenly came to Yi Chen's side and rubbed its head affectionately against Yi Chen's clothes. When Yi Chen saw this, he couldn't help but smile and pat Little Gold's head. He then looked at Lu Jin and shouted, "Lu Jin, here!" When Lu Jin heard this, he hurriedly took a few steps forward and got down on one knee. He then cupped his fist and bowed. "Take the 1,000,000 infantrymen and move out to Julu." "Yes, my lord." When Lu Jin heard this, he replied loudly without hesitation. He then got up and walked towards the 1,000,000 new soldiers who had already changed their equipment. Soon, the sound of uniform footsteps could be heard. Lu Jin led the 1,000,000 new soldiers towards Julu. After 10 minutes, the 1,000,000 infantrymen of Samsara city started running. Whoosh 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 whoosh. The sound of armor swaying, followed by the sound of the 1,000,000 infantrymen running, resounded through the wilderness. When Yi Chen saw this, he smiled slightly. He then looked at the Samsara Legion and shouted, "Get on your mounts!" When Yi Chen finished speaking, the 510,000 Samsara Legion soldiers got on their mounts in unison. Yi Chen glanced at the Samsara Legion and mounted Little Gold. He then shouted, "With me as the center, form a circular formation." Chapter 482. The moment Yi Chen finished his words, the 510,000 soldiers of the Samsara Legion sprang into action. In less than 10 minutes, they had formed a circular formation. Guo Yi and Tianfeng, who were standing beside Yi Chen, were stunned when they saw this. A circular formation was usually used when the enemy was besieged and in a defensive state. But now, there were no enemies around. Even if there were enemies, with Yi Chen and the Samsara Legion around, they would be crushed. While Guo Yi and Tianfeng were still in a daze, Yi Chen waved his right hand and 120 Dao comprehension stones appeared. Looking at the 120 Dao comprehension stones floating in the air, Yi Chen smiled and chose to use them without hesitation. Ding! Congratulations to player Yi Chen for using Dao comprehension stones. Dao comprehension mode activated. Duration, 120 minutes. Once the system notification ended, Yi Chen looked at Guo Yi and Tianfeng and said, "Just focus on using them. However, there's no need to force it. There will be plenty of opportunities like this in the future." Yi Chen was using the Dao comprehension stones because he wanted to refine the Flame Spirit Pearl. After all, there were still 1 million new soldiers in the Samsara City army. They couldn't reach Jilu quickly. Otherwise, Yi Chen wouldn't use the Dao comprehension stones so casually. Even though Yi Chen had a lot of Dao comprehension stones, Yi Chen wouldn't waste them. This was because the Dao comprehension stones were genuine treasures. They were extremely useful to Yi Chen. As for why Yi Chen wanted Guo Yi and Tianfeng to focus on using the Dao comprehension stones to refine the Flame Spirit Pearl, it would produce a mysterious aura that would cause the people around to enter a state of enlightenment. Yi Chen didn't want to waste this opportunity. "Yes, my lord." Guo Yi and Tianfeng were even more confused when they heard this. However, they didn't dare to delay and quickly bowed to Yi Chen. Yi Chen smiled and nodded when he heard this. He then looked at the Samsara Legion and shouted, "Let's go! Jilu!" "Yes, my lord." The Samsara Legion followed the 1,000,000 infantrymen of Samsara City and slowly marched toward the giant deer. At the same time, Yi Chen, who was riding the Pegasus Little Gold, summoned the Khanate spiritual treasure, Fire Spirit. After taking a glance at the Fire Spirit Pearl, Yi Chen immediately began to refine it. Right at this moment, a mysterious aura instantly appeared between Yi Chen and the Fire Spirit Pearl. Buzz, 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 the Fire Spirit Pearl began to tremble, and a fiery red halo constantly spread out from the Fire Spirit Pearl. It was like a ripple, circle after circle, repeating over and over again. The entire wilderness, along with the advancing Samsara Legion, was dyed red. Buzz, 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 the Fire Spirit Pearl was still trembling, and the mysterious aura was getting thicker and more intense. It was like an immortal, like an illusion, and extraordinary. Guo Yi and Tianfeng, who were beside Yi Chen, suddenly sensed something and were stunned. When they came back to their senses, their eyes widened, and they looked at their lord, Yi Chen, in shock. It was only then that Guo Yi and Tianfeng realized why their lord, Yi Chen, had to travel in a circular formation. They also understood why their lord, Yi Chen, had specifically told them to use their hearts to comprehend. It turned out that it was all because when their lord, Yi Chen, refined the Fire Spirit Pearl, he would release a mysterious aura that would cause them to enter a state of enlightenment. Guo Yi and Tianfeng looked at each other and revealed ecstatic expressions at the same time. They then looked at Yi Chen gratefully and bowed deeply to Yi Chen. One of them was a top-class historical official, and the other was a top-class historical official. They were both knowledgeable and experienced. How could they not know how rare Epiphany was? It was also because they understood how rare Epiphany was that they were so excited and so grateful. Because all of this was brought about by their lord, Yi Chen. Guo Yi and Tianfeng did not speak. They did not want to and did not dare to disturb Yi Chen. The two of them looked at each other and then closed their eyes to quietly comprehend the mysterious aura. Soon, they entered a state of epiphany. Clop clop, clop clop. The slow and drawn-out sound of horse hooves could be heard continuously. The Samsara Legion was advancing towards Jilu. The batch of Samsara Legion soldiers closest to Yi Chen was the first to enter a state of epiphany. In the center of the Samsara Legion, the Pegasus, Little Gold, suddenly emitted an aura. The warhorses that were about to go into chaos immediately calmed down and continued to advance slowly. Time passed slowly. The second batch of Samsara Legion soldiers entered a state of epiphany. Then the third batch, the fourth batch. More and more of the Samsara Legion soldiers entered a state of epiphany. As time passed, when the first batch of Samsara Legion soldiers woke up from their state of epiphany, a strong aura instantly appeared on their bodies. These soldiers were all stunned. Then, they opened their eyes wide in ecstasy. Because their strength had increased, and some of them had even comprehended offensive techniques. Among them, the veterans of the Samsara Legion were the most excited. Because one by one, they had advanced and officially became saint-level generals. What did it mean to be a saint-level general? That was the top combat power in this world. One more step and they would be in the mortal evolution state. After a short moment of ecstasy, the first batch of Samsara Legion soldiers who woke up bowed to Yi Chen, who was refining the fire spirit pearl with his eyes closed. No one spoke, but from their resolute eyes, it was not difficult to see their gratitude and excitement. They were grateful to their lord, Yi Chen, for bestowing this upon them. If not for their lord, Yi Chen, they would not have had such an opportunity. Soon, the second batch of Samsara Legion soldiers woke up. Their strong aura exploded once again. They had also improved in all aspects. Similarly, no one spoke. Just like the first batch of Samsara Legion soldiers, they bowed to Yi Chen solemnly and did not speak anymore. They all knew that their lord, Yi Chen, was refining the fire spirit pearl. They did not want to disturb their lord, but their gratitude to Yi Chen was not reduced at all. Batch after batch, until all the Samsara Legion soldiers woke up from their state of epiphany. Guyi and Tianfeng then opened their eyes in unison. Wave after wave of indescribable waves instantly appeared on the two of them. It was obvious that Guyi and Tianfeng had both improved. Buzz buzz buzz. The fire spirit pearl was still trembling. The mysterious aura was still uninterrupted and was being released wave after wave. Guyi and Tianfeng looked at each other and smiled. Then, they bowed to Yi Chen solemnly. Time passed slowly. When the 120 minutes of enlightenment ended, Yi Chen opened his eyes. At this moment, a shout rang out in unison. We pledge our lives to follow our Lord. If we violate this oath, may the heavens and earth destroy us. The firm oath of 510,000 people resounded in the air. When Yi Chen heard this, he nodded with a smile and then said, "Don't worry. Form a square formation. Continue forward." "Yes, Lord." When the Samsara Legion soldiers heard this, they shouted in unison. Swish. The Samsara Legion soldiers moved instantly. In a few breaths, they changed from a circular formation to a square formation. Row after row, column after column, they moved in unison without any disorder. Many thanks for the Lord's grace. Guyi and Tianfeng bowed solemnly to Yi Chen at this time. When Yi Chen heard this, he could not help but smile. Then, he looked at Guyi and Tianfeng and asked, "How are your gains?" "My lord, Jia has completed the Ghost God formula and has now advanced to the Xiantian level." When Guyi heard this, he immediately smiled, then bowed and said, "My lord, Feng has completed the 5 elements art. It has now advanced to the Xiantian level." After Guyi finished speaking, Tianfeng also bowed with a smile. Chapter 483. Yi Chen was slightly taken aback when he heard this. Yi Chen didn't expect that Guyi and Tianfeng would be able to complete their cultivation techniques in one go. Furthermore, they even managed to advance to the Xiantian realm. This was undoubtedly a small surprise for Yi Chen. After all, the innate cultivation methods were of a higher grade. In this way, Guo and Tianfeng's military advisor's skills would definitely be much stronger than before. Even in the untainted land, their military advisor's skills would still be useful. Thinking of this, Yi Chen nodded with satisfaction and then said, "Good, good. You two should practice more innate cultivation method. There will be plenty of opportunities for epiphanies in the future." "Yes, my lord." Guo and Tianfeng both smiled at this point and hurriedly bowed in greeting. Yi Chen nodded with a smile. His primordial spirit moved and his divine sense was instantly released. Then, it enveloped the entire Samsara Legion. In the next second, with a thought from Yi Chen, 500,000 saint-level cultivation methods instantly appeared in front of the 500,000 Samsara Legion recruit. The 500,000 Samsara City recruits were stunned when they saw the saint-level cultivation methods that suddenly appeared in front of them. Then, their eyes widened. This is saint-level cultivation methods. Just as the 500,000 Samsara Legion recruits were shocked, Yi Chen's voice sounded. "You have chosen to follow me and are willing to give up everything for Samsara City and me. Your loyalty can be seen by the heavens. It is only right that you be rewarded." As soon as Yi Chen finished his words, the 500,000 Samsara Legion recruits' eyes turned red. They were moved and grateful. They followed Yi Chen and were willing to give up everything for Yi Chen. Even if they were to die, they would have no regrets. Now, Yi Chen's words were undoubtedly an acknowledgement of their loyalty. For them, this was undoubtedly what they wanted to see the most. The saint-level cultivation methods rewarded by Yi Chen were simply invaluable. After all, if one practiced the saint-level cultivation methods to the end, he could totally become a saint-level general. For them, who were born poor and did not even dare to dream of reaching the innate realm, this was a great stimulation. They knew very well that all of this was bestowed upon them by their master, Yi Chen. Without Yi Chen, they would not have the present, let alone the future of becoming a saint-level general. It was Yi Chen who gave them a bright future. Hence, they were moved and grateful. After a short silence, the 500,000 Samsara Legion recruits looked at Yi Chen in unison. Then, they solemnly bowed. "Thank you, my lord." Their eyes were firm and their voices were sonorous and powerful. Their words were simple, but they could not hide their thoughts. They were willing to give up their loyalty and everything for Yi Chen. They would not regret it even if they died. When Yi Chen heard the extremely moved cries of the 500,000 Samsara Legion recruits, he chuckled and nodded. Then, he shouted, "Use it immediately. The war will come soon. When the time comes, you must do your best to show the might of the Samsara Legion." "Yes, my lord." When the 500,000 Samsara Legion recruits heard this, their eyes widened in unison, and then they roared. In the next second, the 500,000 Samsara Legion recruits grabbed the saint-level cultivation methods floating in front of them and chose to use them without hesitation. Yi Chen saw this and could not help but smile. Then, he looked at the fire spirit pearl floating in front of him. After sensing the connection between him and the fire spirit pearl, Yi Chen nodded with satisfaction. The enlightenment stone was indeed an enlightenment stone. When used to refine innate spiritual treasures, the speed was unbelievably fast. Thinking of this, Yi Chen smiled faintly and looked ahead. In front of him was the million-strong Samsara City infantry army led by Lu Jin. Although 2 hours had passed, the million-strong Samsara City infantry army showed no signs of slowing down. Seeing this, Yi Chen nodded with satisfaction. The additional attributes of the Samsara Immortal City were indeed crazy. If an ordinary army maintained this speed for 2 hours, they would have lost their balance. Thinking of this, Yi Chen could not help but raise his eyebrows. Then, he used his divine senses to cover Julu, which was not far away. At this moment, Guan Er, Zhang San, Zhang He, Chu Yi, and Gao Lan had already met up with Zhao Yun, Dian Xiong, Gao Shun, and Zhao Meng. The 900,000 cavalrymen of Samsara City surrounded Jiulu so tightly that not even a drop of water could escape. At the west gate of Jiulu, the hot-tempered Zhang San was shouting at Jiulu. His loud voice caused the air to buzz. On the west wall of Jiulu, hundreds of soldiers with golden scarves were shouting back at Zhang San, but their voices were suppressed by Zhang San's voice. Seeing this, Yi Chen could not help but smile. Zhang San, this fellow, just as Yi Chen was about to retract his divine senses, a man in a Taoist robe suddenly appeared on the west wall of Jiulu. The moment he saw him, Yi Chen's eyes narrowed. Zhang Ju, the man who suddenly appeared, was Zhang Ju. Yi Chen had seen Zhang Ju in his previous life, so he remembered him clearly. Now, as the Heaven Duke General with golden scarves, Zhang Ju was not in the city. Instead, he went up the city wall. It was obvious that he wanted to do something. Just as Yi Chen thought of this, Zhang Ju, who was on the west wall of Jiulu, raised his right hand. An ancient book appeared out of thin air. Zhang Ju looked at Zhang San, who was still shouting angrily, and raised his right hand. Then, he shouted, "The heavens have died, and the yellow heavens shall rise. I am the Heaven Duke General Zhang Ju. I am the Heaven Duke General Zhang Ju. Come and help me. Everyone who participates will receive 10,000 taels of gold and 10 heaven-rank golden scarves enlistment tokens, regardless of success or failure." As soon as Zhang Ju finished speaking, a world announcement sounded out. Ding! Golden Scarves Camp. Heaven Duke General Zhang Ju has used the Heaven Scroll of the Great Han technique. All golden scarves within the Great Han dynasty have their defense and attack increased by 9 times. Morale plus 200. Lasts for 24 hours. The world announcement sounded out 3 times. As soon as it ended, the world announcement sounded out once more. Ding! Golden Scarves Camp. Earth Duke General Zhang Bao has used the Heaven Scroll of the Great Han dynasty. All golden scarves within the Great Han dynasty have their defense and attack increased by 6 times. Morale plus 100. Lasts for 24 hours. Hearing this, Yi Chen's eyes lit up. He never thought that the buffs of the Heaven Scroll of the Great Han dynasty would appear together in Yi Chen's previous life. There had never been a situation where the Heaven Scroll of the Great Han dynasty was used together. At that time, Zhang Ju, Zhang Bao, and Zhang Liang had all used the Heaven Scroll of the Great Han dynasty, but they had never used it together. Even if 2 of them used the Heaven Scroll of the Great Han dynasty together, it had never happened. But now, the 2 brothers Zhang Ju and Zhang Bao had used it together, and even made a world announcement. The result was obvious. The 2 buffs had worked. More accurately, all golden scarves would receive a 15 times increase in attack and defense. This kind of buff was enough to make the golden scarves soldiers comparable to the post-celestial realm. Although they couldn't compare to the real post-celestial realm, their attack and defense weren't just for show. Zhang Ju was going all out, but that's what I wanted, originally. He thought that only the golden scarves would drop good things, but now any golden scarves would drop good things. Thinking of this, Yi Chen laughed and shouted, "Speed up!" Chapter 484. As soon as Yi Chen gave the order, the army of Samsara City sped up and rushed towards the giant deer. At the same time, the world channel exploded. Ha ha ha, power, power. I feel like I can pierce through the sky. Hee me too. This buff is too awesome. Even if a saint-level general is in front of me, I can easily kill him. This feeling is too good. Brothers of the Golden Scarf Camp, let's go to Jiulu and get 10 heaven-rank recruitment orders. We will each have 1,000,000 troops. Then, we can kill Yi Chen together. Let's go to Jiulu. Damn. Zhang Ju is crazy. Are these idiots from the Golden Scarf Camp crazy too? Why care about these idiots? They think they got it. No matter how strong they are still trash in front of Boss Yi Chen. Of course, Boss Yi Chen is a Nirvana realm expert. No matter how many people the Golden Scarf Army has, it is useless. F***ck, don't bullshit. Didn't you hear how much the heaven rank recruitment orders Zhang Ju promised? 10. 10 at the beginning. 1,000,000 at the beginning. And this is 10 per lord. Don't forget, there are many lord players in the Golden Scarf camp. Damn, if Zhang Ju does this, then won't the Golden Scarf Army reach tens of billions, or even trillions? So what if they have more people? In the end, they will still be killed by Boss Yi Chen. I don't believe that Zhang Ju can rely on numbers to make a comeback. Also, what do you mean by hundreds of millions and tens of billions? I don't believe that Zhang Ju can have so many heaven rank recruitment orders. Damn, you are not talking about the main point. Don't you find it strange? Why is Zhang Ju fighting so hard? There's no need to guess. Let me tell you. Yi Chen's Samsara City army is surrounding Jilu. Zhang Ju has attacked a few times, but he hasn't been able to gain any advantage. In fact, many of his men have been killed. Damn, I was wondering why Zhang Ju suddenly went crazy. So he was forced to do this by Yi Chen. What are you talking about? Haven't you realized that this is your chance? The Golden Scarf soldiers have become stronger. They will definitely drop some good stuff after they die. F***ck. How could I forget about this? Let's go to Jilu. Ha ha ha, this is serious business. Come, let's go together. The World Channel was in an uproar. The players from the Gold Scarf faction and Big Han faction were in an uproar. One wanted to reap the benefits, while the other wanted to take advantage of the situation. It was a lively scene. Yi Chen, who was riding his horse, couldn't help but raise his eyebrows as he glanced at the World Channel. To Yi Chen, the more players from the Golden Scarf faction there, the better. This was because it would save him a lot of trouble. Yi Chen would be able to catch them all in one fell swoop. As for the players from the Great Han faction, Yi Chen had already guessed that they wanted to kill Jin Jin to reap the benefits when the world announcement appeared. However, Yi Chen didn't take it to heart. There couldn't be many players from the Great Han faction who could sense Jilu in time. Even if all of them arrived, Yi Chen wouldn't be worried. Whoever dared to snatch Yi Chen's monsters or snatch the items from Yi Chen wouldn't hesitate to kill them. This was what Yi Chen had done from the start, and he wouldn't change it in the future. Just as Yi Chen was rushing his troops, in the Great Han Empire, in the territories controlled by the Gold Scarf faction, one teleportation formation after another lit up. The commanders, generals, and soldiers of the Gold Scarf faction were teleporting towards Jilu in batches. Evidently, the history of this world had changed because of Yi Chen. Originally, the commanders and generals of the Gold Scarf faction were all killed in their respective territories and wouldn't have come to Jilu at this time. But now they were all here. Of course, they weren't the only ones here. Countless Gold Scarf faction players had also teleported over. Outside Jilu City, Zhao Yun, Dian Xiong, Guan Er, Zhang San, Zhang He Chu Yi, Gao Lan, Gao Shun, and Zhao Meng were thinking about how to break through the city. Suddenly, a long horn sounded. Hearing this horn, everyone couldn't help but look towards Jilu City. In the next second, everyone frowned. A majestic altar suddenly rose up from Jilu City. When Zhao Yunjing, Dian Xiong, Guan Er, Zhang San, Zhang He Chu Yi, Gao Lan, Gao Shun, and Zhao Meng saw Zhang Ju on the spell altar, they all shouted at the same time. Prepare! Zhao Yun, Dian Xiong, Guan Er, and Zhang San had all heard of Zhang Ju's ability to summon the wind and summon the rain. Now that they saw Zhang Ju use the altar, they naturally wouldn't let their guard down. Following the order, the 900,000 Reincarnation City cavalry gripped their spears and glared at Zhang Ju on the altar. Inside Jilu City, on the altar that rose up, Zhang Ju looked at the Reincarnation City army below the city walls and shouted coldly, "You are all ignorant and have gone against the will of the heavens. Your sins are unforgivable." As soon as Zhang Ju finished speaking, a thunderous roar instantly sounded. Kaboom! Kaboom! After the thunderous roar, a deafening roar suddenly sounded. Long live General Heaven Duke! Long live General Heaven Duke! Obviously, the morale of the Golden Scarf soldiers in Jilu City was greatly boosted by Zhang Ju's actions. When Zhang Ju heard this, he couldn't help but raise his eyebrows on the altar. Obviously, Zhang Ju was proud of himself. However, Zhang Ju's pride didn't last for more than a second. This was because he saw something that he couldn't accept. Zhao Yun, Dian Xiong, Guan Er, Zhang San, Zhang He, Zhao Meng, Gao Shun, Gao Lan, Chu Yi, and the 900,000 Reincarnation City cavalry were not frightened by the sudden roar of thunder. Instead, they all looked at Zhang Ju with disdain and ridicule. How could this be? Zhang Ju looked at the 900,000 Reincarnation City cavalry in disbelief. However, the result was the same as before. No one in the Reincarnation City army was afraid or panicked. They only looked at Zhang Ju with disdain and ridicule. Damn it! Today, I will show you what heaven's punishment is. Zhang Ju, who had regained his senses, was instantly enraged. He then shouted at the Reincarnation City army. When Zhao Yun, Dian Xiong, Gao Shun, Zhao Meng, Guan Er, Zhang San, Zhang He, Chu Yi, and Gao Lan heard this, they all raised their right hands and shouted, "Release the arrows!" When the 900,000 Reincarnation City cavalry heard this, they put down their spears and picked up their bows and arrows without hesitation. In the next second, the 900,000 Reincarnation City cavalry pulled their bowstrings and released them. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The sound of the arrows piercing through the air was instantly heard. 900,000 arrows were shot into the air and shot towards Zhang Ju. Chapter 485. On the Spell Altar in Jilu City. Zhang Ju's eyes widened when he saw the sky full of arrows. He slapped the air and shouted, "Wind!" Woo woo! A violent hurricane appeared from Zhang Ju's body and spread in all directions. In the next second, the arrows descended. However, the moment they touched the hurricane, they were easily swept away by the hurricane and changed directions. Below the city wall, Zhao Yun, Dian Xiong, Guan Er, and Zhang San's faces changed when they saw this scene. At this moment, Zhang Ju waved his right hand and an ancient book appeared instantly. Zhang Ju looked at the book in the sky and pointed at it. He shouted, "Lightning!" Kaboom! Dense thunders sounded instantly. Lightning flashed in the cloudless sky and intersected with each other. Oh no! Zhao Yun, Dian Xiong, Guan Er, and Zhang San's faces changed when they saw this scene. On the Spell Altar in Jilu City, Zhang Ju smiled cruelly when he saw the change in the expressions of the Reincarnation City army. At this moment, a cold snort sounded. How can the light of a firefly compete with the brilliance of the sun and the moon? As soon as the voice sounded, the person arrived. A man in a luxurious robe suddenly appeared in the sky above the Reincarnation City army. His eyes were cold and his face was resolute. His hair fluttered in the wind. Zhang Ju's eyes narrowed when he saw the man. This was because the man was standing in the air. His aura was violent and murderous. With just one look, Zhang Ju felt as if he had fallen into an ice cellar and his entire body turned cold. At this moment, 10,000 lightning bolts descended. However, the lightning bolts that had just descended flew towards the man in the sky and were extinguished upon contact. At this moment, a loud roar sounded from the ground. "Greetings, my lord!" The 900,000 Reincarnation City cavalry shouted in unison. Their voices shook the sky. On the Spell Altar in Jilu City, Zhang Ju's eyes narrowed when he heard the shouts of the Reincarnation City army. He looked at the man in the sky and shouted, You are Yi Chen." After Yi Chen heard Zhang Ju's exclamation, he smiled coldly and took a step forward. In the next second, Yi Chen appeared in front of Zhang Ju and grabbed him by the neck with his right hand. Buzz, buzz, buzz! A violent tremor instantly sounded from the sky. It was the Taiping vital art. Heaven Scroll wanted to protect its master, to protect Zhang Ju. When Yi Chen saw this, he snorted coldly, "Since you want to disappear, I'll fulfill your wish." After Yi Chen finished speaking, the black and thick God-slayer with a strong aura of destruction instantly appeared. Then, it pointed at the heavenly scroll. In the next second, the Taiping technique and Heaven Scroll fell silent. Zhang Ju's face turned ashen when he saw that the Heavenly Scroll and Heavenly Scroll were actually scared by a spear. They didn't even want him, their master. There was only one explanation for this. The spear in the sky emitting a strong aura of destruction was of a very high grade. Otherwise, this wouldn't have happened. In reality, the Taiping technique and Heaven Scroll were immortal artifacts, but they were books that recorded technique. How powerful could they be? Not to mention, Zhang Ju didn't even refine the Taiping technique and Heaven Scroll. He didn't have the ability to do so. Trying hard to calm himself down, Zhang Ju looked at Yi Chen and asked, "You are not immortal. You are not immortal. Why?" Zhang Ju knew that Yi Chen was very strong and was his mortal enemy. He was also the biggest obstacle to his plan. Otherwise, he wouldn't have risked his life to gather all the golden scarves after the Reincarnation City army arrived at Jilu City. However, what Zhang Ju did not expect was that Yi Chen's strength was not ordinary at all. More accurately, Yi Chen possessed power that was far beyond the mortal world. This was the reason why Zhang Ju was so terrified and desperate. Therefore, he asked Yi Chen. He was confused. Yi Chen could have ascended, but Yi Chen chose to stay in the mortal world. Of course, he wanted Yi Chen to give up on killing him. He didn't mind even if Yi Chen stopped and lived in seclusion. Why? There's no reason. You deserve to die. Hearing this, Yi Chen laughed coldly and shouted. With a flick of his right hand, Zhang Ju was instantly tossed toward the god-slaying spear. In the next second there was a popping sound. Zhang Ju's body was instantly pierced by the god-slayer. At the same time, the god-slayer swallowed Zhang Ju's soul. No matter what Zhang Ju said or thought, Yi Chen would never let him go. Zhang Ju had bewitched the hearts of the people and fooled them. Ding! Congratulations to player Yi Chen for killing the Golden Scarf Heaven Duke General Zhang Ju. Player Yi Chen is rewarded with 1 billion battle points. Because of his special status, player Yi Chen is rewarded with 508 attribute points. The moment the system notification ended, Yi Chen's right hand reached into the air. Within Jilu City, Zhang Bao, who had been watching everything unfold in the sky with fear, instantly appeared in front of Yi Chen. Zhang Bao saw that Zhang Ju was like an ant in Yi Chen's hands and was easily killed. How could he still have the courage to fight against Yi Chen? Not only that, at this moment, there was only fear left in his heart, endless fear. Therefore, when he was captured by Yi Chen, he begged for mercy without hesitation. Don't kill me. Zhang Bao shouted in horror. However, before he could finish his sentence, the god-slaying spear pierced through his heart. Then, his soul was swallowed up. Ding! Congratulations to player Yi Chen for killing the Golden Scarf Earth Duke General Zhang Bao. Player Yi Chen is rewarded with 1 billion battle points. Because of his special status, player Yi Chen is rewarded with 308 attribute points. The moment the system notification ended, deafening cheers sounded. Long live the Lord! Long live the Lord! The army of Samsara City raised their weapons and cheered loudly. Everyone was excited. Within Jilu City, the densely packed Gold Scarf Army, Gold Scarf players, and Gold Scarf generals all looked at the motionless Yi Chen in disbelief. They never thought that their General Heavenly Duke, General Earthly Duke, would be killed so crudely by the great Han Empire's General of Agile Cavalry, Yi Chen, like a little chick. How is this possible? Heaven Duke, General Heaven Duke, was killed the moment he arrived. A Golden Scarf commander shouted in disbelief. Why? General Heaven Duke is invincible. Why Why was he killed just like that? A golden scarf general roared in disbelief. No. I don't believe it. This is an illusion, this is fake. It must be fake. I don't believe it either. This is an illusion, it's all an illusion. General Heaven Duke can summon the wind and rain, he can cast beans to form soldiers. He is the Son of Heaven. He can't die, he can't die. Damn it, how? How did this happen? Zhang Ju hasn't even shown his power, and he was killed by Yi Chen just like that. I haven't even received the heaven-level soldier recruitment order. Stop wasting time. Hurry up and think of a way to survive. We are in the Golden Scarf Camp. If the Golden Scarf Camp loses, we won't have a good life. Damn it, what can we do? Yi Chen is a monster and there's no way to deal with him. The Golden Scarf Camp will lose. If I had known, I wouldn't have chosen the Golden Scarf Camp. The Golden Scarf commanders, generals, and players in Jilu City shouted one after another. Towards the end, there was an uproar. The Golden Scarf natives couldn't accept the fact that Zhang Ju, their pillar of support, had been killed. They roared in disbelief and became crazier and crazier. As for the Golden Scarf players, they panicked, were afraid, worried, and regretful. They started shouting and discussing, trying to find a way out of this situation. In the sky, Yi Chen looked at the Golden Scarf army in Jilu City and shouted, Zhang Ju, Zhang Bao, and Zhang Liang deceived the people for their own selfish reasons and brought chaos to the world. The three of them have been executed. All of you should have been executed, but the heavens have mercy. Now, if you are truly repentant, you can put down your weapons and surrender. Otherwise, you will be killed without mercy. Chapter 486. Yi Chen's purpose in asking this question was very simple. It was to obtain more people. After all, the Golden Turbans in Jilu City were originally great Han Dynasty citizens. If they were all killed, the number would be huge. Of course, if the Golden Turbans were unwilling to surrender, Yi Chen wouldn't show any mercy. Yi Chen wouldn't give those who didn't submit a second chance. As soon as Yi Chen finished speaking, roars could be heard from within Jilu City. Revenge. We must take revenge. Yes, we must take revenge. The virtuous teacher hasn't left us. Feel it. The virtuous teacher's blessings are still on us. The virtuous teacher won't die. Kill, kill, kill. Clamorous roars continuously rang out from Jilu City. When Yi Chen heard this, his brows immediately furrowed before he raised his hand and made a grabbing motion. An ancient book flew up from Zhang Bao's corpse and was caught by Yi Chen. Ding! Congratulations to player Yi Chen for obtaining the Taiping Technique, Earth Scroll. As soon as the system notification ended, the Taiping Technique and Heavenly Scroll floating in the air flew towards Yi Chen. Seeing the Taiping Technique and Heavenly Scroll flying towards him, Yi Chen raised his eyebrows and grabbed them with his elbow. Ding! Congratulations to player Yi Chen for obtaining the Taiping Technique, Heavenly Scroll. When Yi Chen heard this, he flew out of the city. Just as he was about to land, the Pegasus Xiao Jin appeared and caught Yi Chen. At this moment, millions of Samsara City soldiers and the Samsara Legion arrived on the battlefield. Yi Chen glanced at the huge deer and coldly shouted, "Raise your bow!" Yi Chen had given the Golden Turbans a chance, but they didn't know what was good for them. Yi Chen wouldn't continue to persuade them. Yi Chen wanted more people, but he would rather not leave any of them alive. Yi Chen would rather not leave any of them alive. Yi Chen's voice wasn't loud, but it covered the entire battlefield. Following Yi Chen's order, the 41 million soldiers of Samsara City raised their bows and aimed at Jilu City. At this moment, the city gate in Yi Chen's direction opened with a creak. Kill! For General Heaven Duke! Kill! A roar came from the Golden Scarf General at the front. Kill! 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 Deafening battle cries followed. The soldiers of the Golden Scarf army charged madly towards the army of Samsara City. When Yi Chen saw this, he sneered and then shouted, "What are you talking about? 30 waves. Target, Jiulu City. As soon as Yi Chen finished speaking, the sky was filled with the sound of arrows piercing through the air. 2,410,000 arrows covered the sky as they flew towards Jiulu City. The Golden Scarf army that had rushed out of the city gates was undoubtedly targeted. In the next second, the arrows fell. The Golden Scarf army that had just rushed out of the city gates were all shot like hedgehogs. They fell to the ground one by one, dead. Ding! Congratulations to player Yi Chen for killing the Golden Scarf General, Gao Xing. Player Yi Chen is rewarded with 3 million battle points. Ding! Congratulations to player Yi Chen for killing the Golden Scarf Deputy, Yan Zheng. Player Yi Chen is rewarded with 2 million battle points. Ding! Congratulations to player Yi Chen for killing the Golden Scarf Marshal, Zhang Manqing. Due to his special status, player Yi Chen is rewarded with 10 million battle points. Ding! Congratulations to player Yi Chen for killing the Golden Scarf General, Guan Hai. Player Yi Chen is rewarded with 4 million battle points. The system notification sounded one after another as the first wave of arrows fell. When Yi Chen heard this, he couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. What's the point of being buffed? If you haven't reached the inborn realm, you are useless. Even if you have reached the inborn realm, I still have 410,000 inborn realm soldiers. 10,000 of them are saint-level generals. Just as Yi Chen thought of this, an earth-shattering roar sounded. The heavens are dead, and the yellow heavens shall rise. When the year is 60 years old, the world will be blessed. A group of bare-chested Golden Scarf strongmen suddenly rushed out, flashing with red light. Seeing this, Yi Chen's eyes lit up. If there was anything valuable in the Golden Scarf camp, other than Zhang Ju, Zhang Bao, and Zhang Liang, as well as the marshals and generals, it would be the history of the Golden Scarf camp. This was because they could drop good items. Thinking of this, Yi Chen shouted. Those who have reached the inborn realm, listen up. Inject your true qi into the arrows. Target the Golden Scarf strongmen. Kill. As soon as Yi Chen finished speaking, the sound of arrows vibrating could be heard. Buzz, buzz, buzz. In the next second, tens of thousands of arrows were released. 410,000 arrows infused with true qi were shot at the Golden Scarf strongmen who rushed out of the city gate. At the same time, 2 million arrows flew into the air and flew over the city wall into Jiulu City. In the next second, the sound of arrows piercing into flesh was heard. Poochie, poochie, poochie. The Golden Scarf strongmen who rushed out of the city gate were killed on the spot. At least 1.5 million Golden Scarf soldiers in the city were killed. Zhang Ju had no choice but to summon the Golden Scarf soldiers. Jiulu City was only so big, so the Golden Scarf soldiers in the city were too densely packed. They wanted to hide, but there was nowhere to hide. They wanted to attack, but they couldn't even get out of the city gate. With the death of the Golden Scarf strongmen and soldiers, a series of sounds of items dropping were heard. Bang, bang, bang. Soon, the city gate was filled with all kinds of glittering items. However, this was not the end. After a few breaths, the Samsara city army's arrow rain fell again. The screams and curses that weren't loud at first suddenly became louder by 10 degrees as the arrows rained down. However, it was useless. No matter how much the Golden Scarf soldiers screamed and cursed, the arrow rain did not seem to stop. Wave after wave, the Samsara city army took the lives of the Golden Scarf soldiers, Golden Scarf strongmen, Golden Scarf generals, and Golden Scarf players in Jiulu City. Just as the 15th wave of arrow rain fell, countless players from the Great Han faction ran over from afar. When they saw the Samsara city army attacking Jiulu City, they were all stunned. Damn! How come Yi Chen has more soldiers? How the hell would I know? Damn it, this is too spectacular. How many arrows are there? This is what it means to have tens of thousands of arrows shooting at the same time and covering the sky. Damn it, when these arrows land on your head, you will know what it means to be even more spectacular. I say, should we join in? There are many Golden Scarf soldiers in Jilu City, and they are all stuck inside. If you want to join in, go ahead. I'm not joining in. Damn it, I still want to live for a few more years, damn it. Did you see that at the city gate? Damn it. There are holy tier cultivation techniques and heaven tier weapons there. Damn it. There are so many. TSK, this shouldn't be. I've killed Golden Scarf soldiers before, but they didn't drop so many good items. Don't forget that Zhang Ju buffed the Golden Scarf. Damn it. That must be it. Otherwise, why would there be so many holy tier cultivation techniques, heaven tier weapons, and heaven tier equipment at the city gate? The discussions of the players stopped abruptly. Then, their eyes turned red as they stared at the city gate. More accurately, they were looking at the top-tier items dropped by the Golden Scarf strongmen and Golden Scarf generals. In the middle of the Samsara City army, Yi Chen, who had reached the Nirvana realm, could clearly hear the discussions of the players. He could even see the expressions of the players. He could even see the hairs on the players' bodies. When he saw that the players' eyes were filled with greed, Yi Chen laughed coldly and shouted, "Everyone, get out of here quickly. Those who have nothing to do with it, leave immediately. Otherwise, all of you will be regarded as traitors and killed without mercy." Chapter 487. The moment Yi Chen finished his words, the hearts of the players in the distance trembled. A person's name was like a tree's shadow. It wasn't something that could be ignored. It was no wonder that the players were frightened by Yi Chen's words. Yi Chen's actions from the beginning had been very simple. He was domineering, cold, and heartless. To be more precise, Yi Chen didn't care about others' feelings. He didn't care about what others said. If anyone provoked Yi Chen, he would kill them. Moreover, Yi Chen had really killed a lot of people, and he had even died in real life. Well, the weather is good today, and it's indeed not bad. I heard that a lone demonic beast has appeared somewhere. Did anyone go? I'll go. Count me in, the players laughed and laughed as they left the place. These people were very smart. They knew that they couldn't snatch the spoils of war at the city gate. Even if there was a thick pile of spoils, countless holy-level skills, and countless heaven-level weapons, they couldn't touch them. This was because Yi Chen was here. Moreover, Yi Chen today was much more perverted than Yi Chen in the past. He wanted the spoils of war on the ground because if he got them, he would be able to reach the heavens in a single step. However, they didn't dare to do so. They wanted to live on. If they were killed by Yi Chen, they would really die. They would die completely and there would be no chance of revival. Very quickly, the players left. No one dared to stay and have any ideas about Yi Chen. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The sound of arrows piercing through the air was extremely dense. The Reincarnation City army pulled their bowstrings again and shot towards Jilu City. Miserable howls, angry roars, cries for help, and the sound of items exploding constantly intertwined and resounded through the sky. At the gate of Jilu City, the Golden Scarf warriors were still fearlessly charging out of the city. However, no matter how brave they were, they couldn't withstand the attacks of the innate realm soldiers. Wave after wave, batch after batch, the Golden Scarf warriors continued to rush out of the city gate and were killed on the spot. And the items they dropped were piled up, layer after layer, piling up higher and higher. Ding! Congratulations to player Yi Chen for killing Golden Scarf General Sun Xia. Player Yi Chen is rewarded with 2 million battle points. Ding! Congratulations to player Yi Chen for killing Golden Turban Commander Bu Yi. Due to his special status, player Yi Chen is rewarded with 10 million battle points. Ding! Congratulations to player Yi Chen for killing Golden Scarf General Bian Shi. Player Yi Chen is rewarded with 3 million battle points. Ding! Congratulations to player Yi Chen for killing Golden Turban Commander Zhang Niujiao. Due to his special identity, player Yi Chen is rewarded with 10 million battle points. Ding! Congratulations to player Yi Chen for killing Golden Scarf General Ma Xiang. player Yi Chen is rewarded with 3 million battle points. Ding! Congratulations to player Yi Chen for killing Golden Scarf General Huang Xiao. Due to his special identity, player Yi Chen is rewarded with 10 million battle points. Ding! Congratulations to player Yi Chen for killing Golden Scarf General by Bo Army Bo Kai. Due to his special identity, player Yi Chen is rewarded with 10 million battle points. Ding! Congratulations to player Yi Chen for killing Golden Scarf General Black Mountain Army Zhang Yan. Due to his special identity, player Yi Chen is rewarded with 10 million battle points. The system's notifications rang out one after another. Although the intervals were not short, they still rang out over and over again. The Golden Scarf Army's commanders, generals, and soldiers were mercilessly killed by the Samsara City Army. The screams and cries grew louder and louder. Within Julu City, corpses were everywhere and blood flowed like a river. However, the Samsara City Army's attack did not stop. When the 30th volley of arrows fell, countless powerful auras emerged from the army of Samsara City. Yi Chen could not help but smile when he sensed the powerful auras emerging from the Samsara City army. 500,000 new recruits from the Samsara Legion and 200,000 ordinary soldiers from Samsara City had all reached the Khanate realm. Zhang Ju had done a good deed before he died. Yi Chen could not help but smile when he thought of this. At this moment, a clear voice rang out from within Julu City. Sinner Zhang Ning, I beg the general of Agile Cavalry to stop. When Yi Chen heard this, he could not help but be taken aback. Then, he frowned. The saintess of the Golden Scarf Army, Zhang Ning, he had almost forgotten about her. Just as Yi Chen thought of this, Guo Yi, who was beside him, quickly bowed. My lord, Zhang Ning is the daughter of Zhang Ju. Zhang Ju has already been killed by you. Please reconsider. When Yi Chen heard this, he was slightly taken aback. Then, he smiled. Yi Chen naturally understood what Guo Yi was trying to say. He was trying to persuade Yi Chen not to accept Zhang Ning, the saintess of the Golden Scarf Army. After all, it was no secret that there was a bronze sparrow pavilion in Samsara Immortal City. Of course, this was not important. What was important was that the bronze sparrow pavilion was extremely powerful. However, in order to make full use of the bronze sparrow pavilion, one had to rely on historical beauties. This was the reason why Guo Yi had hurriedly advised Yi Chen when he heard Zhang Ning's voice. After all, Zhang Ning was the daughter of Zhang Ju, and Zhang Ju had already been killed by Yi Chen. If Yi Chen really accepted Zhang Ning, it was very likely that Zhang Ning would take revenge on him. Even if Zhang Ning could not hurt Yi Chen, she could still do some damage. In this way, Yi Chen's foundation would be destroyed because of Zhang Ning. Although the probability of this happening was not high, he had to be careful. When Guo Yi saw Yi Chen suddenly smile after hearing his advice, he was taken aback. Then, he called out, My lord, Fengxiao, do you think that your lord can't resist a beauty? When Yi Chen heard Guo Yi's question, he smiled again and asked. When Guo Yi heard this, he was slightly taken aback. When he came to his senses, he immediately heaved a sigh of relief. Then, he bowed and said, My lord is wise. Yi Chen nodded with a smile, then said, That's right. This woman is very beautiful, but she is not the most beautiful woman in the world. Moreover, after she walked out of the governor's mansion, she swallowed a special poison. Her desire for revenge has been exposed. How can I accept her casually? Poison? Guo Yi was stunned when he heard this. Then, he asked, Poison? Seeing Guo Yi's confusion, Yi Chen smiled slightly and said, Don't worry. This woman's poison is extremely special. If it was someone else, they might not be able to tell, but I know its properties. Once it interacts with a man, it will definitely produce a lethal poison. Even if I am poisoned, it would take some time to get rid of this poison. If it was an ordinary person, even a mortal evolution state, they would die on the spot. Chapter 488. Guo Yi was shocked when he heard Yi Chen's words. After he came to his senses, he hurriedly bowed and said, "My lord, we can't let this woman live." When Yi Chen heard this, he couldn't help but sigh and say, "If it was someone else, I wouldn't hesitate to kill her," but Yi Chen frowned when he said this. "My lord, are you worried about her identity as a woman?" Guo Yi was stunned when he heard this. He looked at Yi Chen and asked. Yi Chen shook his head and said, "That's not the case. No matter who my enemy is, I'll kill them without hesitation. There's no difference between men and women. However, the Saintess of the Golden Scarf Army, Zhang Ning, is a little special." Yi Chen fell silent when he said this. "My lord, is there something you can't tell me?" Guo Yi hesitated for a moment before he bowed and asked. "Indeed." Yi Chen nodded and sighed. Yi Chen didn't say the reason because Yi Chen couldn't say it. Yi Chen's rebirth was Yi Chen's biggest secret. No matter what, this secret could not be exposed. At least, before Yi Chen could dominate the great desolate world and fight against the heavenly Tao, it could not be revealed. Yi Chen couldn't make a decision because Zhang Ning had some connection with Yi Chen in his previous life. To be precise, Yi Chen had met the Saintess of the Golden Scarf Army, Zhang Ning, after the Golden Scarf Army was destroyed. At that time, Yi Chen had been chased by Zhang Yan's soldiers from the Black Mountain Army and had almost died. If Zhang Ning hadn't stopped him because she didn't want to see him die, Yi Chen would have died. Of course, Yi Chen wouldn't have died. He would have only lost 10 levels. However, it was undeniable that Zhang Ning had helped Yi Chen in his previous life. It could even be said that without Zhang Ning's help, Yi Chen wouldn't have been reborn in his previous life. If Zhang Ning hadn't helped, Yi Chen's life would have changed. There was no doubt about it. This was also the fundamental reason why Yi Chen didn't kill Zhang Ning after his divine awareness detected that she was planning to plot against him for revenge. Karma, karma, everything had karma, to kill or not to kill. Just as Yi Chen was hesitating, a girl in an orange dress walked out of Jilu City. She was very beautiful, and her figure was also very slim, but Yi Chen did not have the slightest bit of appreciation. Yi Chen wanted to kill Zhang Ning, but he didn't kill her, because she wanted to kill Yi Chen's revenge for Zhang Ju. She did not want to kill Yi Chen because Yi Chen was indebted to her in his previous life. Even if she only did not want to see someone die at that time, it could not hide the fact that she had helped Yi Chen. Jilu City Gate. Zhang Ning, the Saintess of the Golden Scarf Army, looked at the corpses on the ground and her eyes dimmed. She then looked at Yi Chen, who was in the Samsara City Army, and bowed. Sinner Zhang Ning greets the General of Agile Cavalry. Her voice wasn't loud, but Yi Chen heard it clearly. Because Yi Chen was a rebirth realm expert, it was impossible for him not to hear her at such a short distance. Yi Chen sighed as he looked at Zhang Ning, who was bowing to him. However, before Yi Chen could open his mouth, Guo Yi and Tian Feng bowed in unison. "My lord, please reconsider." Obviously, the two of them suggested that Yi Chen kill Zhang Ning instead of letting her live. When Yi Chen heard this, he glanced at Guo Yi and Tian Feng before saying, "I will make my own decision." "Yes, my lord." "My lord." Guo Yi and Tian Feng were stunned hearing Huang Xiaolong's words, then they hastily bowed. They could hear the decisiveness in Yi Chen's words and knew that Yi Chen had made up his mind. As subordinates, they could only advise Yi Chen and would not go against his orders. Of course, they knew that Yi Chen would not accept Zhang Ning. Otherwise, they would continue to advise him, even if Yi Chen didn't like it. If Yi Chen accepted Zhang Ning, it would do him no good. As for keeping Zhang Ning alive, although they didn't agree, they weren't worried. After all, she was just a girl. As long as she didn't have the chance to enter the harem, she wouldn't be able to cause any trouble. Yi Chen sighed inwardly when he heard Guo Yi and Tian Feng's words. He then soared into the air and flew to Zhang Ning's side. Zhang Ning, the Saintess of the Golden Scarf Army, was stunned when she saw this. Obviously, she was shocked by Yi Chen's ability to fly. Yi Chen, who was in midair, saw Saintess Zhang Ning's stunned expression and smiled. He then landed on the ground. You're an immortal?" Zhang Ning asked nervously when she saw Yi Chen land on the ground. "You can say that." Yi Chen nodded and said. After he finished speaking, he pointed at Zhang Ning with his right hand. Magic power instantly gushed out and poured into Zhang Ning's body. After 10 minutes, a strange voice suddenly sounded from Zhang Ning's mouth. Zhang Ning's face was red and her body was trembling. No matter how one looked at it, she looked like a woman. When Yi Chen saw this, he clapped his right hand in the air and shouted, "Disperse!" As soon as Yi Chen finished speaking, a purple-black smoke rose from Zhang Ning's body and flew into the air. It dissipated in a breath. It was true that Zhang Ning had swallowed a special poison, but before she had intercourse with a man, the poison was not strong. To be precise, Zhang Ning would be fine for a month. Even if something happened, it would be a month later. Yi Chen glanced at Zhang Ning, whose body was detoxified. He sighed and then said, "You wanted to avenge your father. That's pardonable. I can spare you this time, but there will be no next time." Zhang Ning, the saintess of the Golden Scarf Army, was shocked when she heard this. She hurriedly checked her body. In the next second, Zhang Ning's expression was filled with complex emotions. There was hatred, fear, gratitude, confusion, shyness, and many other expressions that were constantly changing. It was truly a wonderful sight to behold. After 10 minutes, Zhang Ning let out a long breath, then bowed to Yi Chen and said, "Thank you. Thank you for your kindness. I, Zhang Ning, will become a Buddhist. My Buddhist name is Liao Chen." After Zhang Ning finished speaking, he bowed to Yi Chen, then turned around and walked towards the forest in the distance. Yi Chen looked at the departing Zhang Ning and sighed inwardly. The cause of the previous life, the effect of this life, you and I will no longer have anything to do with each other. Just as Yi Chen thought of this, an extremely comfortable and relaxed feeling appeared in his primordial spirit. When Yi Chen felt this change, he could not help but raise his eyebrows. Fortunately, he had made the right choice. Otherwise, things would not have turned out this way. Thinking of this, Yi Chen looked towards Jilu City and yelled, "What's the matter? Enter the city. Those who surrender will be spared. Those who resist will die." "Yes, my lord." Deafening shouts rang out instantly. In the next second, the Samsara City army rushed toward Jilu City. At the city gate, Yi Chen looked at the equipment on the ground and smiled. Then, with a thought, the items dropped by the Golden Scarf Army and the Golden Scarf Army at the city gate disappeared instantly. Yi Chen nodded his head in satisfaction when he saw the mountain of items in the storage space of the city. Not bad, not bad, this was a great harvest. Chapter 489. In Yi Chen's interspatial storage, there were already 132,8195 sage-grade cultivation technique. If he added in more than 100,000 Tao comprehension stones, his harvest would be as great as the heavens. In fact, even Yi Chen had not expected Zhang Ju to drop so many good things after going all out. This was also the reason why Yi Chen was so excited. At this thought, Yi Chen flew into the air and returned to the back of the Samsara City army. He then landed on Little Gold's back. At this moment, a loud shout rang out from the back of the Samsara Legion. "Halt! Dismount! Otherwise kill!" The Samsara City army was carrying out Yi Chen's orders to eliminate the last remaining golden turbans in Jilu City. However, the Samsara Legion would not participate in this. This was because they were Yi Chen's personal guards and were responsible for protecting Yi Chen. Without Yi Chen's orders, they would not move out. Yi Chen frowned slightly when he heard this. Just as Yi Chen was about to release his consciousness to check, a loud laugh rang out. "Ha ha ha, kid, you're really something. Do you dare answer me if I call you?" Yi Chen's eyes narrowed when he heard this. He then shouted, "Don't answer." The moment Yi Chen said this, the soldiers of the Samsara Legion, who had been about to berate Luo Yunyang, immediately shut their mouths. The other soldiers of the Samsara Legion also swallowed back their words. My lord, does this person have an unorthodox treasure? Guo Yi was slightly taken aback when he heard this. He then bowed and asked. Yi Chen nodded gloomily and said, That's right. If I'm not wrong, this person should have a purple gold red gourd. No matter who answers him, they will be sucked in. Once sucked in by the purple gold red gourd, even I will turn into pus in an instant. Master, this thing is too vicious. We must not let this person go. Otherwise, there will be no end of trouble. Guo Yi was shocked when he heard this. He then hurriedly bowed and said. Even without Guo Yi's reminder, Yi Chen knew that the player who had obtained the purple gold red gourd couldn't be allowed to live. Otherwise, he would definitely be sucked into the purple gold red gourd if he subconsciously responded when he suddenly called out to him. At that time, he wouldn't be able to call for help. He wouldn't even be able to call for help before he died. Of course, Yi Chen knew the special characteristics of the purple gold red gourd. If this player wanted to plot against Yi Chen, the chances of success were basically zero. However, Yi Chen's subordinate, Yi Chen's woman, didn't know about this. If she was tricked by this player, then Yi Chen would suffer a great loss. Yi Chen did not want to see such a situation happen. After hearing Guo Yi's words, Yi Chen nodded. Then, he rose into the air and flew directly to the rear of the Samsara Legion. After a breath, Yi Chen arrived in front of a young man in his 20s. Yi Chen, I'll call you. Do you dare to respond? When the young man saw Yi Chen flying in the air, he swallowed his saliva with a gulp and then shouted in an extremely nervous manner. Yi Chen glanced at the young man and frowned. This person didn't have the purple gold red gourd. Thinking of this, Yi Chen narrowed his eyes. He activated his divine sense and covered a radius of 100 miles. In the next second, Yi Chen snorted coldly. He waved his right hand, and the black and thick God-Slayer appeared instantly. When the young man saw the God-Slayer, his pupils shrank. However, he immediately regained his composure and shouted loudly. Yi Chen, aren't you the strongest person in the human race? You don't even dare to respond. Trash. Trash. When Yi Chen heard this, he curled his lips in disdain. Then, he stabbed the God-Slayer in his right hand at the young man without hesitation. A sound was heard. The God-Slayer instantly pierced the young man's heart. At the same time, a sharp insect sound was heard. Squeak. In the next second, the God-Slayer's tip flashed and the insect sound stopped abruptly. When Yi Chen saw this, he frowned. Miaojiang Voodoo, didn't the witch tribe not participate in the matters of the three kingdoms? Why did they suddenly appear now? When he thought of this, Yi Chen snorted coldly. His violent killing intent rose instantly. I don't care who you are. How dare you harm me? Die. When he thought of this, Yi Chen did not even look at the young man. He immediately flew toward the southwest. Originally, Yi Chen thought that this young man was the owner of the purple gold red gourd. However, when he was trying to trick Yi Chen, he did not take out the purple gold red gourd. From this point, it was not hard to tell that this young man was just cannon fodder. He was purposely sent here to trick Yi Chen into responding. When Yi Chen realized this, he was very disdainful at first. This was because the player who owned the purple gold red gourd obviously did not know that in order to unleash the power of the purple gold red gourd, he had to be the one to speak and get a response. If it was just a cannon fodder, no matter how Yi Chen responded, the purple gold red gourd would not be able to suck Yi Chen into it. However, what Yi Chen did not expect was that when he stabbed the young man to death, the young man's heart suddenly emitted a strange insect sound. If it were anyone else, they would definitely be dumbfounded. However, Yi Chen was not. After Yi Chen was reborn, he knew a lot of secret. In his previous life, Yi Chen had heard this strange insect sound many times. He even knew where it came from. It was a sound unique to the Miaojiang voodoo. To be more precise, it was the sound of the voodoo bug. Of course, this was not important. What was important was that the voodoo bug's ability was ever-changing. It was very disgusting, especially when it came to controlling puppets. The young man just now was a puppet controlled by the voodoo bug. Everything he said came from the voodoo bug's owner. To be more precise, it was the voodoo player who was lucky enough to obtain the purple gold red gourd. Fortunately, Yi Chen did not respond when he realized that the young man did not have the purple gold red gourd. Otherwise, the hidden owner of the purple gold red gourd, or the voodoo player, would have directly sucked Yi Chen into the purple gold red gourd and killed Yi Chen. It was also because of this that Yi Chen released his killing intent without holding back. This voodoo player was too cunning. Yi Chen almost fell for it. To Yi Chen, he did not care what race you were from. If you dared to attack him, he would kill you. After a few breaths, Yi Chen came to the side of a giant tree and stood in the air. The giant tree was very tall and very big. However, on top of the tree, under the tree, in front of the tree, and behind the tree there was nothing. However, Yi Chen's cold eyes were locked onto the giant tree's branches. The killing intent on his body kept surging. After a breath, a cry of surprise suddenly came from the giant tree's branches. You can see me." When Yi Chen heard this, he sneered coldly and then shouted explosively, "Die, you bastard!" After Yi Chen finished speaking, he used the Godslayer in his right hand and stabbed it towards the top of the giant tree's branches without hesitation. Chapter 490. If you dare to kill me, the witch tribe will not let you off. A shriek rang out as the Godslayer stabbed at him. At the same time, a young man was suddenly exposed from the branches of the giant tree. His face was full of fear and his eyes were filled with despair. As a player, he knew very well what would happen if he was stabbed by the Godslayer. He didn't want to die in the game, and he didn't want to die completely. Hence, while threatening Yi Chen, he tried his best to avoid the Godslayer. However, no matter how hard he tried to move, he couldn't move. Because he had been targeted. Just as the young man's pupils contracted to their limits, the thick black Godslayer's spear pierced through the young man's heart. At the same time, the tip of the Godslayer's spear flashed, and the young man's soul was instantly devoured. Bang! A loud sound was heard. The young man's body then exploded into a bloody mist that filled the sky. At this moment, a gourd suddenly fell from the bloody mist. Seeing this, Yi Chen used his right hand to grab the falling gourd in Yi Chen's hand. Ding! Congratulations to player Yi Chen for obtaining the innate spiritual treasure, purple gold red gourd. As soon as the system's notification ended, Yi Chen couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. It really was the purple gold red gourd. Thinking of this, Yi Chen smiled slightly. Then, with a thought, a drop of essence blood was forced out by Yi Chen and dripped onto the purple gold red gourd. In the next second, the purple gold red gourd shone with a bright red light and the blood from Yi Chen was instantly absorbed. After sensing the state of the purple gold red gourd, Yi Chen nodded satisfactorily. Not bad, not bad. It was a complete innate spiritual treasure. Who would have thought that this bastard would be so lucky to obtain this? But why did this bastard suddenly come looking for trouble with me? In the real world, after the meteor fell, the Eldritch Universe game was launched. The living beings on Earth were divided into 3 tribes: the Witch tribe, the Monster tribe, and the Human tribe. In Yi Chen's previous life, only the Monster tribe was active in the beginner's area of the 3 kingdoms. The Witch tribe had never appeared at all. They officially appeared after ascending to the primordial world. Yi Chen remembered this clearly. It was also because of this that Yi Chen had some doubts. Was this bastard bewitched, or no, the Shaman King must have changed the order to not come out, or else this bastard wouldn't have dared to leave the Shaman tribe's settlement. The witches in the real world were all humans with the bloodline of the witches. After the meteor fell, they automatically gathered together and formed the witches. Among the sorcerer race players, the ones with the thickest sorcerer race bloodline would automatically become sorcerer kings. Although Yi Chen had never met the Shaman King in his previous life, he had heard of his legend and knew of the clan rules he had set. He would not get involved in the grudges between the demon race and the human race. He would cultivate hard and then ascend to the primordial world to acknowledge his ancestors. Ever since the witch tribe players appeared, those with strong bloodlines were born with the characteristics of a superior. More accurately speaking, no matter what the witch tribe player with a strong bloodline said, the witch tribe player with a weaker bloodline would not refuse, nor would they dare to refuse. This was something that appeared automatically after the awakening of their bloodline. It came from their souls and was deeply rooted. It was impossible for it to disappear. Therefore, no one would dare to oppose the clan rules set by the Shaman King. However, the current situation was that some of the witch tribe players had left the Shaman tribe's settlement. The result was obvious. The Shaman King had changed his decision to not come out. Otherwise, this witch tribe player would not dare to leave the Shaman tribe's settlement. Even if others bewitched or tempted him, he would not dare to leave. Damn it, does the Shaman King think of me as an enemy, or did he come out to find trouble with the demon race? The shaman and demon race were also enemies. There was no room for reconciliation. They would kill each other when they met. It was also because of this that Yi Chen had such thoughts. Otherwise, Yi Chen would definitely regard the witch tribe as an enemy. It would be best if he found trouble with the demon race, or else, at this thought, Yi Chen's eyes narrowed. A cold glint flashed across his eyes. Then, with a thought, the Khanate Cardinal Treasure Godslayer and the Khanate Spiritual Treasure Purple Gold Red Gourd flew back to Yi Chen's purple palace. Yi Chen curled his lips in disdain as he looked at the blood mist that was dispersing with the wind. Then, he flew towards the Samsara Legion. Yi Chen knew that the young man was from the witch tribe. Yi Chen had also heard the young man's threats clearly. Now, Yi Chen knew even more clearly that the witch tribe, which had not come out to the world, had come out. However, Yi Chen did not care about this at all. In the wilderness, Yi Chen was not ranked. However, in the Three Kingdoms beginners area and the real world, Yi Chen was not afraid of anything. To Yi Chen, no matter what tribe you were from, as long as you came to find trouble with him, you were an enemy. When facing an enemy, Yi Chen would only choose one way to deal with them, and that was to kill them mercilessly. Outside Julu City, where the Samsara Legion was located, the moment Yi Chen landed, the system's notification rang out. Ding! Congratulations to player Yi Chen for ending the Golden Turban Rebellion. Player Yi Chen is rewarded with 10 billion battle points. The moment the system notification ended, a world announcement sounded. Ding! Congratulations to player Yi Chen for killing General Zhang Ju. Due to his special status, player Yi Chen is rewarded with additional innate attribute points x 110 billion battle points. Ding! Congratulations to player Yi Chen for killing General Zhang Bao. Due to his special status, player Yi Chen is rewarded with additional innate attribute points x 110 billion battle points. Ding! Player Yi Chen has killed General Zhang Ju and General Zhang Bao in Julu City, destroying the Golden Turban Army in one fell swoop. The Golden Turban Rebellion storyline has officially ended. Player Yi Chen is rewarded with 10 billion battle points and a lucky draw x1. Ding! The Golden Turban Rebellion storyline has ended. The victor is the Great Han faction. All players who chose the Golden Turban faction will have their levels reduced by half. All stats reduced by half. They will not be able to purchase any items in the city or trade with others. They will also be wanted by the entire nation. If they are caught or killed, their levels will be reset to 0. The punishment will last until the end of Dong Da's rebellion. Ding! The Golden Turban Rebellion storyline has ended. Players from the Great Han faction can head to the War Points exchange tablet to exchange for the items they need. A series of world announcements blew up the entire world channel. F***CK. 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 I can't accept this. Yi Chen, you bastard. F***ck. I'm so regretful. That goddamn Yi Chen. It's Yi Chen. It's all Yi Chen's fault. I want revenge. Revenge. Ha ha ha. The Great Han faction won. F***ck. Now we don't have to worry about losing levels. Hee, I knew that whichever faction Yi Chen chose would win. Tsk. Thinking about those idiots who chose the Golden Turban faction, I just want to laugh. Boss Yi Chen is the best. No one can compare to him. Boss Yi Chen, from today onwards I'm Yi Chen's hardcore fan. Boss Yi Chen, please take me in. I'm willing to do anything, even picking up soap. F***cku, don't you have any shame? Big brother Yi Chen, I'm already 14 years old. I know how to act spoiled and cute, and I know how to cook and do housework. Please take me in. Chapter 491. The World Channel was abuzz with activity. The players from the Great Han faction cheered, while the players from the Golden Scarf faction cried and cursed. One was because of victory, while the other was because of defeat. No one wanted to fail, and no one wanted to be punished. Now that the outcome was clear, everything was inevitable. Yi Chen looked at the World Channel that was constantly being updated. His eyes narrowed, and a cold glint flashed across them. Sure enough, those who chose the Golden Scarf faction blamed their failure on me. If that's the case, thinking of this, Yi Chen looked at Jilu City and yelled, "Kill all the players in the city." The moment Yi Chen finished his words, the Samsara City army, who were cleaning up the remaining Golden Scarf soldiers in the city, instantly went into killing mode. One by one, the Golden Scarf players were killed on the spot. The screams and roars that had just stopped sounded again. Yi Chen, I won't let you go. I swear. Poochie, don't kill me. I surrender, Poochie. No matter how the Golden Scarf players cursed, howled, or begged, it was useless. The Samsara City army was merciless. To the Samsara City army, Yi Chen's orders were above all else. Even the orders of the Great Han Emperor, Lu Hong, were not as effective as Yi Chen's. Soon, the remaining Golden Scarf players were all killed by the Samsara City army. Not long after, the Golden Scarf players were escorted out of the city. Then, they all knelt on the ground. There were at least 10 million of them. When Yi Chen saw this, he jumped into the air and flew to the top of the 10 million Golden Scarf players. Yi Chen glanced at the densely packed Golden Scarf soldiers and shouted, "Let's go! You participated in the rebellion, burned, killed, robbed, and destroyed countless families. Do you have any regrets?" The moment Yi Chen finished his words, the Golden Scarf players lowered their heads even more. At the same time, their faces were filled with helplessness and misery. In the beginning, they were also commoners and wanted to live their lives honestly and peacefully. However, the Great Han dynasty was plagued by famine year after year, and their harvest was pitifully small. They also had to pay all kinds of exorbitant taxes, making life difficult for them. They were humans, and they wanted to live as well. But they couldn't. And at this moment, the omnipotent and boundless Zhang Ju appeared out of nowhere. They saw the hope of survival, so they chose to follow Zhang Ju without hesitation. As time passed, Zhang Ju's omnipotence grew deeper and deeper into their hearts, and this caused them to believe more and more that Zhang Ju was a child of the heavens that had specially descended to the mortal dimension to rescue them. Therefore, they trusted Zhang Ju more and more. In the end, it became a religion. Zhang Ju was their god. After that, Zhang Ju started to rebel and led them to attack cities and pillage land. They did not hesitate to follow him, because that was the only way they could survive. Only then would they have the hope of surviving. Just like Zhang Ju had said, "The heavens are dead, and the yellow heavens shall rise." They believed that they were the ones chosen by the heavens. So they believed in Zhang Ju and followed him wholeheartedly. Even if they killed the Great Han commoners, they didn't think it was wrong. But now, the appearance of the Great Han Empire's cavalry general Yi Chen had mercilessly destroyed their faith. The omnipotent General Heaven Duke, in their eyes, was like an ant in front of General Yi Chen. He was casually squashed to death. At first, they didn't believe it, and they didn't want to believe it. So when those generals roared, they also roared and roared. They wanted revenge, revenge for Zhang Ju. However, the next scene completely woke them up. The arrows that blotted out the sky fell again and again, taking away the lives of countless people, including the generals, the commanders, and the invincible golden scarf warrior army of General Heaven Duke. Corpses covered the streets, and blood gathered into a river. The pungent smell of blood grew thicker and thicker, and then it drifted through Julu City. This hellish scene woke them from their stupor. It was also at this moment that they came to understand that the so-called omnipotence, the Elysian child, and the fate of the heavens were all fake. It was also because they were clear-headed that they began to reflect on their past actions, and then they began to feel regret. After all, they had killed many innocent commoners and destroyed many innocent families. Yi Chen glanced at the Golden Scarf warriors who were already thinking about their past. He once again shouted, "Although you were bewitched by Zhang Ju, there is a reason for this. Because you are in a precarious situation and could starve to death at any time." Yi Chen's words resonated with the Golden Scarf warriors. Because they really couldn't survive, they followed Zhang Ju and rebelled. But at this time, Yi Chen's eyes suddenly widened and he roared, "But, a crime is a crime, you are all guilty." The moment Yi Chen's words fell, the Golden Scarf warriors who had just resonated with him lowered their heads again. Yi Chen was right. They were guilty and should be beheaded according to the law. But the heavens are virtuous. I can give you a chance to atone for your sins with all your heart. Hearing this, the Golden Scarf warriors, who had just accepted their fate, suddenly felt a strong sense of hope. Yi Chen glanced at the Golden Scarf warriors and then continued, "You will be escorted to Yuzhou, where you will cultivate wastelands. You will do your best to cultivate the land. After each harvest, you will donate everything except for your own food. This will be used to compensate the families who suffered in this war and atone for your sins. This will last for 100 years. Do you have any objections?" Hearing Yi Chen's words, the Golden Scarf warriors all opened their eyes wide. The Golden Scarf warriors had never imagined that this was what Yi Chen wanted them to atone for their sins. They had originally thought that Yi Chen would make them do manual labor until they died. Who would have thought that they would be sent to cultivate the land? Although they would have to donate everything except for their own use for 100 years, this would allow them to eat their fill and not worry about starving to death. To them, this was not a punishment at all, but a good thing that had fallen from the sky. What they wanted was not to starve and for their entire family to live a good life. After coming to their senses, the Golden Scarf warriors immediately became excited. "No objections, no objections. We're willing, we're willing. Lord Marquis Champion, please be merciful." Yi Chen looked at the cheering Golden Scarf warriors and nodded in satisfaction. 10 million Golden Scarf warriors meant 10 million people. Yi Chen naturally would not waste them. After all, the Empire's population was what supported it. Otherwise, Yi Chen would not have said this and that to these 10 million Golden Scarf warriors and made them want to submit to him. Thinking of this, Yi Chen raised his hand to stop them from shouting. When the Golden Scarf surrendered soldiers stopped shouting, Yi Chen looked at Guo Yi and shouted, "Don't worry. Feng Shao check." "Yes, Lord." When Guo Yi heard Yi Chen's order, he hurriedly bowed and stood up to look at the Golden Scarf warriors. A second later, Guo Yi opened his eyes and activated Demon God's Eye, sweeping it over the Golden Scarf warriors. As Guo Yi's Demon God's Eye swept over them, the Golden Scarf warriors began to emit a green light. These were not hostile. When some of the glowing Golden Scarf warriors appeared, Yi Chen pointed at them without hesitation. Wung, wung, wung. Dense pillars of energy instantly appeared and shot towards the ground. A second later, the sound of the pillars of energy piercing through bodies could be heard. "Poochie, Poochie, Poochie, all the glowing golden scarf warriors were killed on the spot by the pillars of energy. Just when the golden scarf warriors were trembling in fear from Yi Chen's sudden massacre, Yi Chen stopped. These are all people who are loyal to Zhangju. Yuzhou does not need such people. The moment Yi Chen said this, the golden scarf warriors breathed a sigh of relief. When Yi Chen was about to give the order to escort these captives to Yuzhou province, a muffled rumbling sound suddenly came from the ground. Yi Chen immediately frowned and spread out his divine sense, instantly covering an area of 100 li. 3 cavalry armies instantly appeared in Yi Chen's divine sense. Chowning Fu, Dong Dada, Lu Ji. Chapter 492. The 3 of them had really come at the right time. Thinking of this, Yi Chen narrowed his eyes and looked at the millions of surrendered soldiers on the ground. Take off your golden scarves and clothes with the symbol of golden scarves and pile them together. Remember, you are all refugees who were persecuted by the golden scarves. Yi Chen's purpose was very simple. He did not want to give Dong De, Chowning Fu, and Lu Ji any leverage. After all, these surrendered soldiers had participated in the rebellion. If the 3 of them saw that Yi Chen had subdued millions of surrendered soldiers and brought them to Yuzhou, they would definitely stop him. After all, these surrendered soldiers had participated in the rebellion. Lu Hong had to decide how to deal with them. However, Yi Chen's action was undoubtedly disregarding Lu Hong, which was a crime of great disrespect. Although Yi Chen was not afraid, Yi Chen did not want to bear this crime. Because Lu Hong was not dead, Yi Chen's public rebellion against Lu Hong was not justified. If Yi Chen directly destroyed the Great Han Dynasty and then established a country, Yi Chen would definitely not obtain much of the heaven and earth fate. Yi Chen wanted to ascend to immortality, but Yi Chen also wanted the heaven and earth fate. Otherwise, even if he could ascend to immortality, Yi Chen's empire would not be able to stand firm in the untainted land. An empire without the heaven and earth fate would not last long. Yi Chen was very clear about this point. It was also because of this reason that Yi Chen ordered the golden scarf soldiers to take off their uniforms and headscarves and burn them to ashes. Without these, Lu Ji, Chowning Fu, and Dong De would not be able to find any evidence, even if they did not believe Yi Chen's claim that these surrendered soldiers were the people of the Great Han Dynasty. Moreover, they did not dare to fall out with Yi Chen, the god of war of the Great Han Empire, because they did not have any evidence. As soon as Yi Chen finished speaking, the golden scarf surrendered soldiers were all stunned. They didn't understand why Yi Chen had given such an order, but even if they didn't understand, they didn't dare to disobey Yi Chen's orders. After they came back to their senses, they hurriedly followed Yi Chen's orders and took off the golden headscarves on their heads. They took off their clothes that were related to the golden headscarves and piled them together. Soon, tens of thousands of piles of clothes appeared on the ground. When Yi Chen saw this, he flicked his finger. Tens of thousands of fireballs instantly appeared and flew rapidly towards the pile of clothes. In the next second, dense explosions rang out. Bang, 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 in less than 2 breaths of time, all the piles of clothes were burned to ashes. When Yi Chen saw this, he could not help but raise his eyebrows. Then, he looked towards the golden scarf soldiers and shouted, "Head to Yuzhou on your own. When the time comes, someone will naturally distribute enough food, seeds, and farming tools to you. If you have family members, you can bring them to Yuzhou on your own. When you get there, you can build your own houses and cultivate your own field. Remember, don't cause any trouble. Otherwise, if one of you commits a crime, everyone else will be punished as well. Thank you, Sir Overlord. Long live Sir Overlord. Long live Sir Overlord." When the golden scarf soldiers heard this, their eyes lit up. Then, they excitedly bowed towards Yi Chen in the sky. Yi Chen's words were very strict, and could even be said to be very cruel. Because if one of them commits a crime, everyone else would be punished as well. However, the Golden Scarf soldiers never thought of causing trouble, let alone committing a crime. They only wanted to live a good life. Therefore, they were not worried about being punished at all. Of course, this was not important. What was important was that Yi Chen's offer was far beyond their expectations. They originally thought that Yi Chen would at most give them enough food to not starve to death, some seeds, farming tools, or even some farming tools. After all, they were sinners. However, reality was not what they thought. Not only did Yi Chen give them enough food, he also gave them seeds, farming tools, and allowed them to bring their family members to Yuzhou. To the Golden Scarf soldiers, this was simply the best thing that could happen. All they wanted was to have enough to eat, to not have to starve, and to be able to live a stable life. And Yi Chen had directly given them all of this. How could they not be satisfied? How could they not be happy? Yi Chen looked at the excited Golden Scarf soldiers on the ground and smiled. Then, he shouted, "Let's set off. Our destination is Yuzhou." "Yes, Sir Overlord." Deafening cheers instantly rang out. After shouting, the Golden Scarf soldiers turned around and strode towards Yuzhou. When Yi Chen saw this, he inwardly sighed. In this era, all the people wanted was to live a stable life and not have to starve. Unfortunately, Lu Hong had deprived them of this little wish. How could the world not be in chaos? At this thought, Yi Chen directly looked at Zhao Yun, Zhao Meng, Guan Er, Dian Xiong, and Zhang San and shouted, "Gather! Get ready for battle!" "Yes, sir." When Zhao Yun, Dian Xiong, Zhao Meng, Guan Er, and Zhang San heard this, they all bowed and replied loudly. In the next second, the army of Samsara City began to gather and soon stood in a square formation. Seeing this, Yi Chen directly flew to the Samsara Legion. When Yi Chen mounted Golden Pegasus, the dull roar of the earth finally reached the ears of the army of Samsara City. "Sir!" Guo Yi, who was next to Yi Chen, was slightly stunned when he heard this. When he came to his senses, he hurriedly looked at Yi Chen and bowed to him. However, before he finished speaking, he was interrupted by Yi Chen. It's Lu Ji, Chao Fu, and Dong De. When Guo Yi heard this, he was stunned once again. Then, he realized why Yi Chen told the Golden Scarf surrendered soldiers to take off their clothes with the Golden Scarf symbol and burn them. After he came to his senses, Guo Yi could not help but smile. He then bowed and said, "Sir, you are wise. Don't flatter me." Yi Chen stared at Guo Yi and then said. Guo Yi laughed awkwardly and then bowed and said, "Sir, I have something to say, but I don't know if I should say it." "Go ahead." Yi Chen was stunned for a moment and then said, "Go ahead." Hearing this, Guo Yi nodded, then bowed and said, "Yes. My lord, the Samsara City contributed 99% to the extermination of the Golden Turban Army, so my lord's military exploits are amazing. However, my lord is now the general of Agile Cavalry and the governor of Yuzhou. If you have such military exploits, I'm afraid that your military exploits will overshadow yours. Instead of arousing His Majesty's suspicion, why don't you give Lu Ji, Chao Fu, and Dong De some benefits and exchange them for some war horses for our army?" When Yi Chen heard this, he was stunned for a moment. When he came to his senses, Yi Chen laughed and said, "Fortunately, Feng Shao saved my life. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to get rid of this credit even if I wanted to." Guo Yi was telling the truth. Yi Chen's contribution was too great. The entire Golden Turban Legion was basically destroyed by Yi Chen. Soon, Yi Chen would go to destroy the demon tribe. At that time, Yi Chen's military service would be boundless. Once Yi Chen's final military service was shown to Lu Hong would definitely be shocked. After that, Lu Hong would definitely be suspicious of Yi Chen. This was because Yi Chen's army was strong and sturdy. Furthermore, he was too good at fighting. Even if Lu Hong was stupid, he would still be wary of such an existence. This was not the result Yi Chen wanted to see. "My lord, the three of them came at the right time. Otherwise, it would have been difficult to distribute your battle merit. Gui smiled and bowed. Yi Chen laughed and then said, "Currently, the Golden Turban Legion is lacking in horses. War horses are what Samsara City needs the most right now, so we'll change them. But forget about Lu Ji, he's too honest. As for Chowningfu, he's still a field officer and doesn't have much money. Let's change it to Dongda. But you have to include these two in the report." Yi Chen was now the magistrate of Yuzhou, the general of Agile Cavalry, and the Marquis Champion. He really didn't care about Lu Hong's reward. Otherwise, Yi Chen wouldn't have sold his military service. Of course, Yi Chen sold his military service not only to get horses for the Samsara army, but also to give Dongda a push. Dongda was the key figure in the rise of the heroes. If Dongda didn't become awesome and become arrogant, he wouldn't dare to cause trouble in Chang'an. Without Dongda's scourge, the rise of the heroes would drag on for many years. Yi Chen didn't want to wait. Thinking of this, Yi Chen waved his right hand. A buzzing sound was heard. The 1.9 million soldiers of Samsara City disappeared without a trace. Chapter 493. Yi Chen hid the 1.9 million soldiers of the Samsara City because he wanted to hide his troop. After all, Lu Ji, Chowningfu, and Dongda were leading their troops here. If they saw this, Lu Hong would definitely hear about it. If Lu Hong knew that Yi Chen had so many troops and that each of them was equipped with a set of diamond equipment, it would be strange if he was not afraid and worried. Of course, this was not the point. The point was that Yi Chen did not want to scare Dongda. If Dongda saw how powerful Yi Chen's troops were, he might not dare to rebel. What Yi Chen wanted to do was to keep Dongda in an awesome state, to make him arrogant and crazy. Otherwise, he would not have dared to cause trouble in Chang and the great Han royal family. Rumble! Tens of thousands of horses galloped and the earth rumbled. Lu Ji, Chowningfu, and Dongda led the 3 cavalry troops and quickly approached the Samsara Legion. When they were 10 li away from the Samsara army, the Samsara army's major generals all raised their weapons and roared, "Kill us! Be alert!" Swoosh! The Samsara corps turned their horses around and then knocked their bows, aiming at the 3 cavalry armies that were charging at them. Rumble, Chowningfu, Dongda, and Lu Ji, who were leading the cavalry troops, all opened their eyes wide when they saw the Samsara Legion. Are they the cavalry of the Marquis Champion? Dongda shouted with a blank face. No wonder the Marquis Champion can win every battle. Chowningfu said in surprise with his eyes wide open. He is indeed the Marquis Champion. How can such an army not be invincible? Lu Ji shouted in shock. Lu Ji, Chowningfu, and Dongda were all shocked by the luxurious equipment of the Samsara Legion. They would never have thought that the cavalry army of the great Han Empire's general of Agile Cavalry, Marquis Champion Yi Chen, would be equipped with all diamond-grade armor sets. The price of such equipment was extremely high. Even ordinary generals would not be able to obtain such equipment. However, every member of Yi Chen's Samsara Legion had a full set of diamond set equipment. How could they not be surprised? In fact, if they were closer, they would discover that among the 510,000 Samsara Legion soldiers, 10,000 of them were all wearing heaven-level equipment and wielding heaven-level weapons. Although they were not standard equipment, they were all genuine heaven-grade equipment. While the 3 of them were still in shock, the Samsara army's action of drawing their bows jolted them out of their shock. They hastily raised their hands and shouted, "Stop advancing!" The 3 cavalry armies slowly came to a halt. When the 3 cavalry armies stopped, Dongda and Lu Ji looked at the deputy general beside them at the same time and said, "Send someone over to explain." There were 3 cavalry armies, but the real leaders were Dongda and Lu Ji. Although Chowningfu led a cavalry army, his official position was still very low. He was under Lu Ji's command, so he naturally would not overstep his authority. When Dong De and Lu Ji sent their men over, Chao Ningfu, who had been observing the Samsara Legion, narrowed his eyes. However, he quickly returned to normal. Chao Ningfu had noticed something unusual about the Samsara Legion. To be precise, the soldiers of the Samsara Legion were all in the Xiantian realm. Some of them were even beyond Chao Ningfu's expectations. While Chao Ningfu remained silent, one of the generals beside Dong De was startled. Then, he hurriedly rushed to Dong De and whispered something into his ear. After Dong De heard this, he shuddered and looked at the Samsara Legion with a face full of shock. At this moment, a general beside Lu Ji also realized that something was amiss. After realizing what was going on, he was shocked and whispered to Lu Ji. When Lu Ji heard this, he was stunned. He then looked at the Samsara Legion and said with a face full of shock, They are all in the Xiantian realm. How did they train such powerful soldiers? I don't know, but this alone can explain why General Liao Qi dared to attack Jilu with only a few 100,000 soldiers. Just as Lu Ji's deputy general said this, he suddenly noticed a large group of civilians appearing on both sides of the Samsara Legion's formation. After being stunned for a moment, Lu Ji's deputy general suddenly thought of something and shouted in shock, Jilu City has been conquered. He couldn't help but think this way. After all, they had received news that the Samsara City army was attacking Jilu. Therefore, Lu Ji and Dong De, who had just arrived, decided to join forces with Yi Chen, the war god of the Great Han Empire, to attack Jilu together. However, the current situation was that the Samsara City army didn't move. Instead, a large group of civilians in ragged clothes appeared outside the city. There was no other explanation other than Jilu being conquered. The civilians weren't stupid. They wouldn't do something so stupid as to go wherever there was a battlefield. Therefore, there was no doubt that Jilu had been defeated. The civilians that appeared outside the city were all from Jilu City. What? Lu Ji was stunned when he heard this. He then asked in shock. Lu Ji already knew that the 510,000 Xiantian realm soldiers in the Samsara Legion were all in diamond-grade armor set. However, Lu Ji didn't think that such a ferocious cavalry would be able to conquer Jilu City. After all, they were cavalry. There was no way they could attack a city. It was because of this point of view that Lu Ji was so shocked after hearing his deputy general's explanation. General, there are traces of civilians on both sides of the Samsara City army. They must be from Jilu City. Lu Ji's deputy general hurriedly bowed and explained. When Lu Ji heard this, he hurriedly looked at the two sides of the Samsara City army. In the next second, Lu Ji was stunned. After a while, Lu Ji came back to his senses. He then said in shock, This, Jilu City has really been conquered. At the same time, Chao Ningfu and Dong De also realized this. Then they were both shocked. They didn't believe that the Samsara City army could conquer Jilu City. However, the truth was right in front of them. Jilu City had really been conquered. Where Dong Da's army was. Dong De glanced at the Samsara Legion, then looked at his deputy general, and said in a low voice, Prepare the jewels. I want the most precious jewels. The more the better. I will need them later. Yes, General. Where Chao Ningfu's army was. Chao Ningfu glanced at the Samsara Legion, then looked at Xiahou Dun and asked, Yuanrang, if I gave you enough money and equipment, how long would it take for you to build such an army? General, such an army not only requires equipment and money, but also soldiers with at least grade A or grade A aptitude. More importantly, it needs the corresponding skills. Otherwise, Xiahou Dun sighed and said. Chao Ningfu frowned when he heard this. Then, he nodded and didn't say anything else. However, his eyes flashed with a bright light. Obviously, Chao Ningfu hadn't given up. He still wanted to build a strong army, one that was exactly the same as the Samsara Legion. Chapter 494. While Dong De, Chao Ningfu, and Lu Ji were still in shock and deep in thought, The speed of the soldiers they sent to deliver the message slowed down. The two messengers were initially far away as they felt that the Samsara Legion was too luxurious. As they got closer, they realized that the soldiers of the Samsara Legion all had the aura of powerful individuals. Most of their auras were similar to that of their generals. However, some of their auras were even more terrifying than their generals. However, this wasn't what shocked them the most. As they got closer, they felt a cold, almost frozen murderous aura. The closer they got, the stronger this feeling became. The two soldiers who realized this were almost scared to death. They weren't even halfway there yet. If they reached the front of the Samsara Legion, they didn't dare to imagine whether they would be able to return. They really wanted to stop immediately and turn back. However, they didn't dare to do so because this was Lu Ji and Dong Da's order. If they dared to disobey, they would be executed immediately. Therefore, they braced themselves and continued forward. However, the closer they got to the Samsara Legion, the more fear and unease they felt in their hearts. The Samsara Legion's domineering aura and cold murderous aura were too strong and too intense. The closer they got, the more numb their scalps became. Even the war horses beneath them were showing signs of impatience, unease, and fear. This situation erupted when the two of them reached the center of the two armies. The war horses refused to move forward no matter how hard the two messengers tried to urge them on, but it was useless. The two soldiers who realized this were miserable because their legs were trembling. They didn't even have the strength to get off their horses, let alone walk. Lu Ji and Dong Da sized up the Samsara Legion seriously. At this moment, the two of them realized that the soldiers they sent to deliver the message were actually motionless in the middle of the battlefield. They couldn't help but be taken aback. "What's going on?" Lu Ji asked unhappily as he looked at his deputy general. When Lu Ji's deputy general heard this, he glanced in the direction of the Samsara Legion and sighed. He then cupped his fists and bowed. "General, the Marquis Champion's cavalry is too strong and their murderous aura is too strong, this." Lu Ji was stunned when he heard this. Lu Ji was also a general. Initially, he had been shocked by the luxurious lineup and strength of the Samsara Legion and did not think too much about it. Now that he heard his deputy general's explanation, he naturally understood. However, even though he understood, Lu Ji had no way to raise his soldiers' courage. After coming back to his senses, Lu Ji looked at the deputy general beside him and said, "You go." When the deputy general heard this, he nodded helplessly. He then bowed and said, "Yes, General." There was nothing the deputy general could do. The Samsara Legion soldiers were all at the Khanate realm, and they were filled with killing intent. How could ordinary soldiers resist their killing intent? As for sending other generals, they might not be able to face the tyrannical aura of the Samsara Legion and not embarrass themselves. Therefore, he could only go. At the location of Dong Da's army, Dong Da looked at the soldiers who stopped halfway and couldn't help but be stunned. Then, his face suddenly turned incomparably ashen. Just as Dong Da was about to give the order to execute the soldier who had gone to deliver the information, a general beside Dong Da suddenly bowed and said, "General, let's go." Ordinary generals probably won't be able to get close to General Piao Qi's cavalry. Even if they do, they might. Dong Da was first stunned when he heard this, then he understood the general's meaning. In fact, if Dong Da was more attentive, he would also be able to discover the reason why the soldiers were unable to advance. However, like Lu Ji, he was shocked by the luxurious lineup and tyrannical strength of Yi Chen's Samsara Legion. Otherwise, he would have discovered the reason at the first instance. Thinking of this, Dong Da's fat face couldn't help but tremble. He then looked at the general beside him and said, "Hua Xiong, I'll leave it to you. Hua Xiong, I'll leave this to you. Don't show any dissatisfaction." "Yes, General." When Hua Xiong heard this, he nodded and then rode his horse towards the Samsara Legion. Not long after, Lu Ji's deputy general and Hua Xiong arrived in front of the Samsara Legion. If it was in the past, the two of them wouldn't have paid any attention to the soldiers, but it was different now. When the two of them arrived in front of the Samsara Legion's formation, they both felt their hearts skip a beat. Previously, they were far away and didn't feel it too strongly. Now that they were in front of them, they felt it even more strongly. The aura of 510,000 Xiantian realm experts gathered together was too strong. It was so strong that they began to doubt their lives. The two of them tried hard to calm their violently beating hearts, then opened their mouths to reveal Lu Ji's and Chao Ningfu's identities and intentions. After listening to the two of them, a Samsara Legion major glanced at them, then looked at a Samsara Legion soldier beside him and said, "Go, tell the Lord exactly what we said." "Yes, Major." When the Samsara Legion soldier heard this, he hurriedly bowed and cupped his fists in response. Then, he stepped out of the ranks and ran towards Yichen. At the rear of the Samsara Legion's army, the Samsara Legion soldier who delivered the message directly bowed and conveyed Hua Xiong and Lu Ji's words to Yichen. After hearing this, Yichen glanced at Gui, then at the Samsara Legion soldier and ordered, "Go, tell them to bring Lu Ji and Dongda here." "Yes, my lord." When the Samsara Legion soldier who delivered the message heard this, he hurriedly bowed and left. Once the soldier left, Guo looked at Yichen with a smile and bowed. "My lord, you can't go overboard with this show of strength. Otherwise, if you scare Dongda, your grand plan will be affected." "Ha ha, Fengshao, Dongda is not so easily frightened. He will definitely give me a great gift later. Moreover, he will not hesitate to give me the war horses that the Reincarnation City army needs." Yichen laughed when he heard Fengshao's words. Then, he said. When Guo heard this, he was stunned. When he came back to his senses, he asked in astonishment, "My lord, why are you so sure?" "Because he is Dongda." When Yichen heard this, his eyebrows involuntarily raised as he spoke with absolute certainty. Dongda was not a kind person. Otherwise, he would not have caused chaos in Chang'an, raped the harem, and was extremely deranged. Of course, this was not important. What was important was that Yichen had hidden 9 million soldiers from Samsara City. Dongda could not see them at all. Therefore, a mere 510,000 Samsara Legion would at most make Dongda fearful. It would not make him lose his ambition to conquer the world. Yichen was very sure of this. It was also because of this that Yichen allowed the Samsara Legion to release their aura and killing intent. Yichen's purpose was to show Dongda who was in charge and make him fearful so that he would obediently contribute the war horses. As for Lu Ji and Chao Ningfu, they were just collateral. Yichen's main target was Dongda. Chapter 495. When Guo heard this, he was slightly stunned. Guo had not expected Yichen to say this. After coming to his senses, Guo suddenly thought of something and his eyes lit up. He looked at Yichen, bowed, and asked, "My lord, is he?" Guo was the first civil official to follow Yichen. How could he not know about Yichen's plan? Not only did Guo know about Yichen's plan, but he also knew that Yichen was waiting for the collapse of the Han dynasty, the chaos of the world, and the rise of the heroes. Although Yichen had never explicitly mentioned this, how could Guo not be able to deduce it? Now that Yichen said so about Dongda, Guo naturally judged Dongda as the key to the rise of the heroes. Otherwise, Guo would not ask Yichen this question. When Yichen heard this, he nodded with a smile and said, "That's right. Yes, it's him." Guo was Yichen's subordinate and was loyal to Yichen. Yichen would not hide it. Hearing this, Guo suddenly smiled, then bowed and said, "Thank you. In that case, my lord, you can't ask for less than 2 million war horses. And you can't give him money." When Yichen heard this, he was slightly stunned. He had not expected Guo to say so much more than he expected. Yi Chen had planned to get 1,000,000 war horses from Dongda. After all, war horses were strategic materials in this era. 1,000,000 war horses was not a small number. Dongda would not agree to more than that. Even if he asked for 1,000,000 war horses, Dongda might not agree. Guo Yi saw the confusion in Yi Chen's eyes. He smiled and bowed, saying, "My lord, since Dongda has the ambition to dominate the world, he will not give up easily. Now that he has seen the strength of the Samsara city's army, he will be wary. But the more the Lord asked for, the more overbearing you appeared, the lower Dong Da's guard was. Moreover, he couldn't wait to give the Lord more war horses to curry favor with the Lord." "Feng Xiao, are you saying that Dong Da wants the entire army of Samsara city to become cavalry?" Yi Chen's eyes lit up when he heard this. He looked at Guo Yi and asked. In everyone's eyes, it was simply impossible for cavalry to attack a city. On the other hand, Yi Chen's Samsara city army was made up of cavalrymen, but they had defeated Jilu. Whether it was Dong Da, Chowning Fu, or Lu Ji, they would definitely attribute it to equipment. That was the truth. Dong Da, Chowning Fu, and Lu Ji all thought so. Otherwise, even if one was at the Xiantian realm, riding a horse to attack the city would be courting death. Of course, this was not important. What was important was that Dong Da had the ambition to dominate the world. Today, he had witnessed the magnificent feat of Yi Chen's Samsara city army. He would definitely do his best to build an army for the Samsara city army. To be precise, he wanted to build an army that was also equipped with diamond-level equipment. At the very least, it would be an army with diamond-level weapons. In this way, as long as the Samsara city army was still cavalry, Dong Da would only be shocked and not afraid. After all, if both sides had the same level of equipment, it would be stupid to use cavalry to attack a city. Even if one was at the Xiantian realm, it would be suicide. It was also because of this reason that Guo Yi suggested Yi Chen to ask for war horses. There was no need to be polite with Dong Da. This was because Dong Da would not refuse. Not only would he not refuse, but he would also give Yi Chen war horses so that Yi Chen could build an army of cavalrymen. In this way, Dong Da could sit back and relax. This was because cavalry cannot attack a city. However, Dong Da did not know that such a stupid thing as attacking a city with cavalry would not work at all in Samsara city. This was because Dong Da did not know Yi Chen's real situation. Not to mention the cavalry sieging the city, even Yi Chen alone could destroy the city and the stronghold he encountered. In this world, there was no existence that could stop Yi Chen. Even the most majestic city wall could not stop Yi Chen. Moreover, Yi Chen could destroy any city he wanted. Even if Yi Chen did not attack personally because he wanted to train the soldiers and only asked the cavalry of Samsara city to attack, they would still be invincible. This was because the equipment of the Samsara city army was not fixed at diamond level. After all, Yi Chen had obtained the blueprint of an earth-level equipment set. Moreover, there was Millennium Dark Iron wood on the island where the expedition village was located. When forging equipment, adding a little bit of this would directly increase the equipment's level. In Samsara city, it would be a heaven-level equipment set. One could imagine how terrifying it would be to equip the soldiers of Samsara city with such equipment set. Even if Dong Da equipped his army with earth-level weapons, they would not be a match for the Samsara city army, let alone a diamond-level equipment set. As the first civil official to follow Yi Chen, Guo Yi knew all of this. Therefore, Guo Yi suggested that Yi Chen make any request without worrying about Dong Da rejecting him. When Guo Yi heard this, he nodded with a smile on his face, then bowed and said, "My lord, that is indeed the case." Ha ha ha, Feng Xiao's reminder is good. When the war is over, I will reward you with 100 bottles of 100 flowers wine. Yi Chen laughed and said. Guo Yi's eyes lit up when he heard this. However, before he could speak, Yi Chen's voice rang out again. 1 bottle per day. Guo Yi was stunned when he heard this. Then, the corners of his mouth twitched involuntarily. Seeing Guiyi's deflated expression, Yi Chen smiled again and said, "The days of drinking to your heart's content are not far away. Don't be impatient." The days of drinking to their heart's content that Yi Chen mentioned were naturally after they ascended to the untainted land. After all, Guiyi was still suffering from heaven's jealousy. He was not in good health, and could not drink casually. This would harm his body. Only after he ascended to the untainted land and got rid of heaven's jealousy would Guiyi's body recover. At that time, there would be no such restriction. After all, Guiyi's cultivation would improve rapidly after he ascended to the untainted land. Moreover, 100 Flowers wine would quickly become one of the top 10 wines in the untainted land. No matter how much he drank, it would not harm his body. Yes, my lord. When Guiyi heard this, he could not help but feel warm in his heart. Then, he bowed solemnly and said, "How could Guiyi not see that Yi Chen was doing this for Guiyi's sake?" It was precisely because he could see that Guiyi was so touched. Yi Chen glanced at Guiyi and nodded with a smile. At this moment, a loud shout was heard. "Men, dismount! Put down your weapons!" It was the Samsara Legion's major who saw Dong De, Chao Ningfu, and Lu Ji approaching on horseback. He did not hesitate to stop them from riding forward. Not only did they have to dismount, but they also had to hand over their weapons. When Yi Chen heard this, he glanced at the Samsara Legion and then nodded with a smile. "This guy, not bad, not bad, he's very clever." Logically speaking, Lu Ji, Chao Ningfu, and Dong De were military generals who served under the same palace as Yi Chen. Therefore, Yi Chen's soldiers should not have berated them like this. However, Yi Chen's soldiers still did it. Not only did they do it, but they also did it with an unpleasant expression and tone. Obviously, they did it on purpose. Obviously, this major had discovered that Yi Chen wanted to intimidate Dong De, Lu Ji, and Chao Ningfu. Otherwise, he would not have done so. In front of the Samsara Legion. After Lu Ji, Chao Ningfu, and Dong De personally came here, they were shocked by the Samsara Legion's tyrannical aura and violent murderous aura. After all, they were far away just now. They could feel it, but it was not very strong. Now that they were personally here, it would be strange if it was not strong. However, just as their hearts involuntarily sped up, the Samsara Legion's major suddenly shouted at them, giving them quite a fright. Among them, Dong De almost fell off his horse. In the next second, Chao Ningfu's face darkened, Lu Ji's face turned green, and Dong Da's face instantly turned red. The three of them were furious. They never thought that Yi Chen's soldiers would dare to shout at them like this. They also never thought that they would be frightened by this shout. This was too King embarrassing. The three of them were about to get angry and flare up when a swoosh sounded. The Samsara Legion soldiers raised their spears in unison and pointed them at Chao Ningfu, Dong De, and Lu Ji. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.